here. That's the picture from the airport. I came fly through the Munich airport, and what I noticed that already in our life around us there are quite many of IoT devices. One example is this clock, which can synchronize its time with the server. Another example could be the smart lighting, which can adjust the brightness of the lighting based on the actual condition. Another example is the sprinkler, which can monitor the current condition of the watering pipes and provide some predictive maintenance information. Another example is the smoke detector, which is also connected, monitoring system, video system, and information on the monitor screens is also provided by the Ethernet network of the airport. There are also some sensors to monitor the ambient conditions like the humidity or temperature. So that's the IoT, which stands for Internet of Things. So we are many things. We have many things connected, which we are surrounded by. So what's then industrial IoT? Pretty simple. It's application of that technology into the industry, and in our case, we are talking about the manufacturing. So that's the FANUC example, FANUC idea of connected factory. As you see here at this picture, there is not only yellow color, so we know that customers are using not only FANUC products, but also other brands. And the idea of FANUC on industrial IoT is that customer should have the complete overview on its factory. Based on that technology, you could improve your productivity, quality, performance, and reduce the cost of production. Why it matters? Why is it important? So the data which is collected thanks to the IoT technology could be a solution for current problems, but it could solve also your future problems, which might be not known yet at the moment of the investment. Many companies try to use data collected at the shop floor, at the production floor, to use that data to stay ahead of the competition. You could use industrial IoT to offer new services. I will bring some examples about that. You could also support or improve your products after delivery. So if you are the system integrator or machine tool builder, if you have a connected machine, then you can support your customers much better remotely and possibly reduce the cost of such support. What's important about IoT is IoT, I think it should be also enabler for your staff of the company to solve their problems by themselves, based on data. So I think that low-code programming it's important feature of IoT. So to provide the tools to your staff to solve their problems. IoT brings also the increase of the production transparency. What is important is to focus on improvement, not on the consequences. I saw quite a lot of failed IoT projects because people at the shop floor have a fear of this technology. And what you could do is also to improve efficiency based on the IoT data. Last picture from my trip to here, also from the airport. So the question is how to execute this business transformation. So that's also the picture from the airport. There's one tiny item which brings my attention, which is a USB charger. So that brings me a conclusion or idea that I think it's important to use young generation of engineers, which that there is a term digital native, which is a person who has grown up in the information age. They don't remember the world without the internet. It's probably for older people, it's not easy to understand how what's the difference for them. But those young generation of engineers, they don't know the world without the internet. IoT is widely used by such persons, and what's important, they would like to work smarter, not harder. Yesterday we have a pretty interesting discussion about how to engage young persons to work in the manufacturing sector, and I think IoT is one of the options for engagement of such persons. Let's look at what kind of power is behind this IoT technology and digitalization. Let's take an example of Tesla, which I think is completely data-driven company. Let's look at the one of their business problem. They have an issue that there was a pretty high cost of the insurance for a Tesla car, which of course somehow limits sales of those cars. So they found a solution. So the solution is pretty easy. How to lower the cost of insurance. What they did is they analyzed, they bring the new model how to offer insurance by improved risk assessment. So as you may know, there are many different sensors, like the speed sensor, acceleration sensor in the Tesla car. So based on those sensors, so based on data, which the car, I think, is generating, they are evaluating so-called potential damage of the car or potential accident frequency. And based on that factor, they offer to their customers different pricing for the insurance. So it's like real-time assessment how you drive, and based on how you drive, you will be paying for the insurance. It's evaluated on the monthly base, and based on that, they can stay ahead of the competition. So what was quite inspiring for me, that based on this new model, they also bring really good message to the market. So we believe that your price should be determined by how you drive and not who you are, which I think is a pretty good advert of this good message and good advert of this service. And another example also how Tesla utilized data. So another question they ask is how to lower the production cost for the cars. What they did, they simply analyzed data, the production data. No, actually they analyze the usage data, how their product is used, because each Tesla car is connected. They are able to monitor and collect data, how their product is used. So they focus on how users of Tesla cars are charging their cars. And there are three different options how to charge Tesla car. Level 1 is a simple socket, popular around us, but it's very, very slow way of charging car, because to charge up the car you need 4 days. Another two, so the second level is a wall charger, and level 3 it's a supercharger. So based on data analysis, they decided to remove the level 1, so it's so-called mobile charger, because it was really rarely used. So they just remove that option from the car, which allows them to lower the cost of the car, and they just providing this option as an add-on option, not the standard feature of the car. So based on the analysis of data, how the product is used, they could easily came to the conclusion how to lower the production cost. Let's look at some manufacturing use cases, based on the FANUC IoT. One of the FANUC IoT solution is ZDT software, which stands for Zero Downtime, which is a condition monitoring software dedicated for FANUC robots. We have a presentation in the showroom area, so I can also explain you later about that software. And in this example, the servo gun, so the tool of the robot, is monitored regarding the disturbance torque, which can inform about the condition of the servo gun mechanics. So based on this example, ZDT alerted maintenance team at the shop floor, at the factory. So by early notification, maintenance team was able to check what's going on with that servo gun. They simply lubricated the mechanics of the servo gun, and they by this simple solution, they simply saved that mechanical item of the servo gun. And what's more, they also protected the company by unplanned downtime. Typical use case of ZDT is to identify robot abnormalities in the robot drives. So without the ZDT, if there is no problem, there are no any signs of failure. If something is happening with the robot reducer or the motor, sometimes there are some signs of failure, like vibration or harsh sound. But usually there is not so much time to react if that phenomenon occurs. So usually the robot has unplanned downtime in this case. So the customer can call FANUC service, and we can maybe visit the customer next day and fix the robot. But it may result in unplanned downtime. What's the situation with the ZDT is that the purpose of ZDT is to give you the early notification in case of some problems will be detected. So you as a customer and we as a FANUC, we can get additional time to plan the service intervention, maybe also to secure the spare parts to fix that robot. One of the interesting ZDT use cases is at the Nissan factory. What you can see on the screen on the left side, there is a pretty huge wall with the monitor screens. In the middle, there are two ZDT screens. The next one is other FANUC IoT software, which is called MTELINK. So Nissan is also quite a good example of how IoT, industrial IoT, was implemented at the manufacturing area. I visited also several customers in Europe, which has similar rooms. So there is a meeting room, which is one of the all of the room is covered by the monitor screens, and those monitor screens present different real-time and historical data. For example, if the maintenance team is started the shift, they are checking the screens, what happened at the previous screen, and they plan the complete shift, where to focus their attention, what activities should be planned for the current shift. Another use case of ZDT, so how customers are using and get some benefits of data utilization, is to monitor operational status of FANUC robot. So this is the real data from the actual production. So after the installation of ZDT, the CEO of the company was focused on this data. So ZDT attracted also attention of the management of the company. And based on that graph, he recognized that there are 2 inefficient hours during the planned production time. So also, thanks to ZDT, he recognized this problem, but the next step was to analyze what happened during those 2 hours. ZDT has other features like to check what kind of programs were modified, what kind of modifications were made, maybe what kind of alarms appeared at that time. Based on that analysis, they found a reason. They came to a conclusion which helps them to reduce this downtime by 1 hour, which is a significant improvement for this specific case. And the value out of the IoT, value in the investment in the IoT was demonstrated within the first month. Another example, more related to the machining technology and job shop environment. So there is this customer is from Germany, and they asked the question how to maintain unmanned production during the weekend. So that company invested in the photovoltaic system. If they don't produce in Saturday and Sunday, the energy is simply wasted. The customer has no really benefit if they send out the electrical energy to the network. So they search for the solution, how to utilize this green energy without CO2 emission, but keep the still unmanned production. Their issue was that from time to time there were some unplanned production stops, and they were recognized without the IoT only on the Monday. So it was possible that someone started the production on the Friday afternoon, and maybe in the night from Friday to Saturday there was some alarms or some error, and the production was stopped through the whole weekend. So what they did, they installed FANUC MT-Link-I software. They configured automatic email notification. They introduced also procedure that for each weekend there was a responsible person on duty, but which stays at home. So whenever something happened with the production, the guy on duty received an email notification. He simply went to the shop floor, fixed the problem, start the production again, and there were pretty impressive outcomes. So the company increased productivity by 3 to 5% based on this use case application of this IoT technology, but also by implementation specific procedure for their production. The last example, it's another customer of FANUC, it's OMCO, a company from Croatia. They are specialized in producing molds for glass bottles. So there is a lot of machining and CNC machines. And the company target was to introduce just-in-time production and logistics. So whenever the last part of the batch went out from the machine, it was packed and moved to the truck for delivery. They searched for the solution how to provide that feedback from the machine tools to their MES system, so the MES system could synchronize with the logistic company. And they use also MT-Link software made by FANUC to collect all the data, all the feedback from the CNC machines when the parts were all the parts from the batch were produced. MT-Link is providing real-time data to their MES system. What's important about this solution that MT-Link covers connectivity not only to FANUC machines, but also to other vendors through the OPC-UA or MT Connect protocols. That was the last example of in the manufacturing area. I hope you enjoyed that presentation, and maybe now you can search for some use cases at your business, maybe at your shop floor, maybe at your integration activities. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Has anybody got any questions at all? We do have a roaming microphone, so if anyone has got any questions, now's the time to ask, if you're watching online as well. I've got a question. If you are coming in, by the way, you're more than welcome to come in. There's lots of seats here for you as well. Return on investment, is that a question that you often hear when you're talking about the software that you provide?
Of course. Usually there is such a question. With the IoT, the answer is not that easy as it is with the automation. So with the automation, robots or machine tools, it's quite easy to calculate and estimate potential return of investment. With the IoT, of course, we can assume several first use cases, like focus on three use cases, how to improve the internal operation of the company based on that. But it's important to understand that IoT will be not limited only to those first use cases, because you can use IoT also in the future to solve future problems which you don't know maybe at the moment of the investment.
Okay, and also company sizes. We've got companies here from all different sizes. So what topic and discussions are you having with different companies?
Yeah, for small companies, the criticality sometimes, for example, of the robot is important. So maybe that there is a small company with not so many automation robots, but if that robot is critical for continuous operation, for continuous production of the company, it's important maybe to monitor that robot to predict potential downtimes. For bigger companies, it's important to have a complete overview what's going on at the production, because if we are at the small job shop, the maintenance manager, production manager, they know perfectly what's going on because they have maybe 5 to 10 machines, so each issue is well known by them. But if you are talking about hundreds of machine tools or robots, it's not that easy to have a complete picture. So based on IoT, you can build specific dashboards, maybe for some areas of your production, and based on that, you can have a perfect picture of what's going on at your production.
Okay. Oh, we've got a question in the corner, so we've just got a roaming microphone. Just so you know, if you are watching online, you can speak to the team online as well, and we'll try and get Jack to head over there afterwards. But in here, ahead with your questions.
Hiya. I loved your phrase, digital native, and as you mentioned yesterday, there was lots of talk about how to encourage younger people and the next generation into engineering. Do you think it's important that we really convey the message to young people now about IoT, how connected manufacturing is, and just make sure that they really understand the kind of skill set that is needed, not just now but going forward, to be an engineer and to work in manufacturing? And it's not about necessarily having a spanner and being a really practical, hands-on kind of job. There's also this whole technological side of it that's really important.
Yeah, pretty good question. Thank you for that. Well, I think that still IoT is not well known, not well recognized or understood technology, so it's something new. I started my work in FANUC more than a decade ago. At that time, I felt like an evangelist regarding how to apply FANUC robot. It was something new, and I think today is that moment as we have with the FANUC robots 10 or 15 years ago. So it's quite new technology, not well understood by the market, probably also by young people, by students. So I think it's important to promote that there are new positions even in the manufacturing, which are more focused on maybe on the software, on the data analysis. To, as I wrote in the presentation, to work smarter, not harder. Thank you for the question.
Yep. Okay, we've got one more question. We'll have to be a little bit brief because we're eating into the next time slot, which just one more question.
Yeah, hi, good morning. So very interesting, and we're going more and more into IoT and IIoT. So that creates a lot of opportunity, but it also creates a dependence. And I'm just interested on your view about what people are doing or companies are doing in terms of backup. Because I've certainly had experiences where we've been completely reliant on internet, IoT, this, that and the other, and it's failed for whatever reason. Sometimes quite simple reason, loss of a cable or something, and it's brought everything to a halt. And we couldn't start again until we fixed it. So, yeah, your thoughts on backup?
Yeah. So, my current perspective and experience with IoT is that so far it's not used for critical tasks or critical items. So, at the moment, usually it's additional information which support your activities. But in most cases, you can run also your production without this information in case of some problems, of some failures, maybe some connectivity lost. But in that case, maybe you are a bit less efficient in this case. But of course, backups and redundancy is important thing in this technology.
Right, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
So, if you're watching online, you can head over to the podcast and we'll be back here. And here live, by the way, please welcome to the stage Phil Hadfield from Rockwell Automation. Thank you. Thank you. Again, if you've got any questions, store them in your brains because we want to throw them at Phil. Thank you, Phil.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to see so many people here today. And firstly, I'd just like to thank the FANUC team for inviting us all to this fantastic event. I think you'll agree. My name's Phil Hadfield. I work for an organisation. Let's just get the slide deck working. That's not my slide deck. I can have a go. think there's some seats here for people stood at the back if you want to come forward. Gone very quiet, hasn't it? I can see people furiously tapping away on computers in the background there, so.
Trying to get the presentation loaded up, so just give us a few moments. We've got Phil's presentation, and then there's two more, and then we're going to a panel discussion. If you weren't here earlier, because there's quite a few new people that's walked in, so at 12:30, it will be lunch served down at the bottom in the showroom, and then at that point, that's the time for you just to roam around. We've got the exhibition hall behind the back here. There's lots of demonstrations. And then there's some taster sessions of some robots. And they're doing a bit of a academy training as well. So you can all see that a little bit later on at 2 o'clock, I believe. As I said earlier, if you can't make tomorrow, it's all about education, upskilling. But MTDC&C and FANUC are streaming the whole event, even the presentations in here, live across their channels. So basically, if you want to catch up on anything, it is a presentation tomorrow, you can watch those as well. So we're just trying to furiously, as you said, Phil, tap away. Are we there?
We're good.
We're good, right,
back
brilliant.
On track.
Okay, back on track. Thank you.
Good, thanks. So it's a pleasure to see everybody. I think you'll agree it's a marvellous event. My name's Phil Hadfield. I work for a company called Rockwell Automation, and I just wanted to share some insight today on what we're seeing in the marketplace, and share some fantastic examples where UK manufacturers are meeting the challenges they face head-on with innovative ideas using the latest technology. Firstly, a quick intro to Rockwell Automation, for those of you that aren't familiar with us. We're the largest company dedicated to industrial information and automation. We're focused on industrial productivity, offering products, consulting services, turnkey projects and support contracts to our customers right across the globe in over 100 countries with more than 24,000 employees. We've got a very strong heritage that we're very proud of. We're celebrating our 119th birthday this year. And our company was formed during the second industrial revolution, when electricity became prevalent in the factory floors. And at the time, I guess we were sort of dot-com technology leaders, creating things such as contactors and relays. Fast forward to the third industrial revolution, which was when microprocessor control became more prevalent. And in the that was early 1970s, late 60s. And we really sort of pivoted our focal point there and started to develop, we developed the first programmable logic controller, or PLC, in the world. And that's, I guess, what a lot of people know us for today, along with the contactors and relays that we still sell a lot of. But of late, we've really been embracing the latest technology that's all around the fourth industrial revolution. And that's really about taking the data that's prevalent on the shop floors of our manufacturing sites and turn it into real-time, contextualized information. It's fair to say that you probably touch, eat, drive, or use a product that's we've been involved in the manufacture of for the most part of the day, be that the water you drink, the food you eat, or the car that you drive to work. It's highly likely that our technology has been used somewhere in the production process. Our products are used in a vast array of industries, And this wide reach really provides us a great view of the trends we see right across from the UK, Europe and globally. And I wanted to share some of these with you today because I think many of them will probably be directly applicable to you. It's fair to say manufacturing has seen changes accelerate in the environment that we work faster than ever before over the last few years. And this is largely driven by us, the consumer. We're more demanding. We expect things faster, more sustainable, more customised, with more options than ever. And as an extreme example of the sheer variety that consumers expect, I had the pleasure to co-present at an event the other week with one of our customers from the Lear Corporation. The Lear Corporation manufacture, amongst other things, car seats for some of the leading automotive manufacturers. And they were saying that for one of the manufacturers, just for one model, there are over 3,000 combinations of car seat sets that they could be asked to make for each car. That be, you know, different fabric, options, things like that. This slideshow shows just some of the trends that we're seeing at our customers at the moment. Be that the trend towards mass customisation, such as single-use drugs in the life science area, pressure from consumers to develop new products such as plant-based protein, and the ever more urgent drive to solve the need to mass-produce cost-effective green energy. We're seeing changes in the next few years in the automotive sector that are probably more profound than all the changes seen in the last 60 years through the electrification of the industry. And industries are evolving to meet the needs of the new green economy and providing the raw materials needed, such as hydrogen and lithium. On top of this, our more established industries, such as the food and beverage manufacturers and the water industry, need to contend with equipment obsolescence and often challenges to the very business model that they've traded on for years as us, the consumers, change and our demands. Amid these changes, sustainability is rapidly evolving into one of, if not the top priority for manufacturing leaders seeking to strengthen their position in the marketplace. Today's business leaders are faced with one of the most demanding business landscapes in generations, with pressures including geopolitical turmoil, supply chain constraints and resource scarcity, all contributing to an uncertain outlook. So taking these trends on the previous slide and distilling them down to distinct business challenges, many of which I'm sure you're familiar with in the audience today, such as scalable and agile production. How do you manufacture more products on the same production line? Or, as new products are developed, how do you scale up production investment? The accelerating market pressures. How does your business remain relevant with all these changes that are happening around you? Challenges around recruiting the right calibre of people with the right skills, and the pull by consumers and legislation to be ever more sustainable. Regarding ageing assets, I read a report that suggested a typical food manufacturing plant in the UK was between 20 and 30 years old. Now that's obviously a concern from a reliability perspective, but also leaves the plant home to heightened cybersecurity risks, which you may have seen in the news impacts not just the balance sheet of the organisations affected, but perhaps even more importantly, the brand equity. The good news is that manufacturing is resourceful and ready to meet these challenges. And I'm going to share some examples of 3 great UK organisations who are doing just that. There's no doubt that UK manufacturers need to become ever more resilient, agile and sustainable to address the challenges and remain competitive in what is a global marketplace, where often a factory's largest competitor isn't another company, but a similar sister site within their own organisation somewhere else on the globe. In addition, the last 4 years have highlighted the need to be better prepared for crisis events. Supply chain resilience, ensuring that you can readily access your raw materials, and even going the extra mile to do things such as implementing track and trace through serialisation to reduce counterfeiting and grey market, giving the consumer the confidence in the provenance of the products. Being agile to meet with short notice changes from your customers or global influences on your business that you may not be able to control. And ensuring your manufacturing processes and products are as sustainable as possible. This isn't just a nice thing to do or good business practice, but it's an expectation from consumers and will be required for everybody to comply with the future sustainability legislation that's being drafted as we speak. On the previous slide, I spoke about the challenge to some manufacturers' very business model. How do you adapt when the external influences outside your control challenges the very market that you're a leader in? You need to be agile, have foresight, and be ready to make the courageous decisions. A fantastic example of one such manufacturer that I'm sure you've all heard of, who's making these courageous decisions right now, is the Royal Mint. We're proud to be working with this long-established customer as we help them bring on exciting new revenue stream for the future, and at the same time help them solve one of the UK's growing sustainability conundrums. I'm sure you're familiar with the Royal Mint. It's the world's most recognisable mint, I guess, who make coinage and medals not just for the UK but for many other countries around the world. However, with the advent of digital money and Apple Pay, the demand for coins, especially low-denomination coins, is on the decline. We're working with the Royal Mint to design, build and commission a facility to safely recover valuable metals from waste electronic products. When fully operational in 2023, the Royal Mint's facility in South Wales is expected to process up to 90 tonnes of UK-sourced waste circuit boards per week. Waste from electrical equipment and electronics, known as e-waste, is one of the fastest growing waste streams, both in the UK and around the world, with less than 20% currently being recycled worldwide. The Royal Mint will use patented chemistry and our distributed control system to recover more than 99% of the precious metals from the circuit boards of discarded laptops and mobile phones, reducing the environmental impact of e-waste in the UK and supporting the Royal Mint's broader sustainability goals. I spoke about changing business models on the previous slide. The Royal Mint will use some of these recovered precious metals in a new range of sustainable jewellery designed by their in-house jewellers at the Royal Mint, ensuring that the Royal Mint will remain relevant for years to come. So I guess as Christmas is approaching, look out for the range next time you're shopping for that gift for someone special in your life. One of the key challenges for any organisation is to attract diverse talent, something that I'm sure many in the room have experienced. And you're not on your own. A recent poll by the British Chamber of Commerce discovered that 2/3 of the employers polled were struggling with skills shortages. We see forward-thinking organisations are tackling the issue by using digital transformation, such as automating repetitive tasks. The existing workforce can then be upskilled into better paid, more engaging roles, keeping the experience within the organisation. Another trend we see is the overnight shift to remote working that occurred during the pandemic. And that's resulted in a sudden change into how organisation tackles employees' learning and development. Businesses have had to change their strategy and accelerate the adoption of digital learning solutions that support the shift to remote working. I'm sure many in the room will have experienced this themselves, taking part in Zoom or team training sessions rather than the more familiar face-to-face workshops. Well, this shift is not just for the classroom-based training. For instance, leaders can now train their staff with digital twin technology for the production processes without impacting the physical operations of the plant. We're also seeing augmented reality being used, not just to train workers on site, but to help with distance working, enabling subject matter experts to support the plant remotely, making far more efficient use of these valuable resources. Manufacturers must train employees to be able to leverage this digital future, and so the industry must have an ongoing dialogue with academic institutions to make engineering more appealing to future generations and to fill the skills gap, but also to train the existing workforce with the use of the new emerging technologies to enable UK manufacturers to remain competitive. Another great example of a UK manufacturer utilising some of the latest technology to revolutionise how they work and streamline their operations is a company called Barrett Steel. Barrett Steel are the UK's largest independent steel stockholder, and they had a challenge in that they have a network of 27 sites around the UK, most of which have been acquired over the years. This meant that each site was running on a different maintenance regime and system, and everything really needed to be pulled together so that it could reduce their unplanned downtime. So a scalable OEE solution was required across all the sites. They also wanted a computerised maintenance management system that would be easy to use and that offered them mobility via the use of tablets. Barrett looked around the market extensively, and working with our partners CHG has chosen Rockwell's Fix cloud-based computerised maintenance management system, along with our FTS ThingWorks platform, to manage its ongoing maintenance programmes and reduce downtime. This forms part of the company's 5-year digitalisation plan, which is focused on delivering £1 million year-on-year return. So it's okay saying that the answer to all these problems is to set off on a digital journey, but where do you start, especially for small, medium enterprises? Well, the good news is that this can all be scalable. And in my experience, the most successful businesses first identify 5 or 6 use cases. These are usually critical business improvements that need to be made. Companies like ourselves then can work with these organisations closely up front to really understand all the key stakeholder requirements, right through from procurement to operations to engineering to finance. And this is usually in the form of what we call a value workshop, where we spend several days interviewing and facilitating workshops with all the key customers within the organisation to make sure that everyone understands the issue, and most importantly, what a successful solution will do for them. From this point, it's very easy to propose a solution with a clear return on investment. Usually at this point, we identify a specific area of the manufacturing plant that this solution can be proved on, and then actually use the payback on this to roll out across scale across the organisation. Getting your wider team involved in this stage also serves another really important process, and that's to help with the cultural change in the organisation that's often required when implementing some of these solutions. Often, the solutions will involve a different way of working, and in some of the more extreme examples, potentially a different business model for the organisation moving forward. Ensuring your team understand and are fully behind changes like this are absolutely critical to the fast implementation, a quicker return on investment, and successfully driving the business forward ahead of your peers in the marketplace. I mentioned that it's important to scale these solutions, and the ability to do that is exactly the reason why innovative electric vehicle startup RE Automotive selected Rockwell Automation's Plex MES platform for the global rollout. RE, who are a local company, they're actually literally 6 miles down the road at Coventry Airport from us here, are an automotive technology leader and provider of electric vehicle platforms. They've adopted Plex MES to underpin their highly digitalised manufacturing operations as the company prepares for full-scale production in 2023. The digital and cloud capabilities delivered by these solutions create an ideal foundation for RE Automotive, not only for this first UK plant, but also for its global operations, as the UK plant will be used to fine-tune the manufacturing parameters and procedures, which can then be easily rolled out to all other plants. Plex delivers full visibility into production operations and seamless connectivity with ERP systems, making it a highly capable single plant solution. But the nature of the fact that this is a software as a service platform hosted in the cloud means massive cost savings and flexibility when compared to a traditional on-premise MES solution. RE only need to pay for the computing capacity of plant 1 at startup, and then as further plants open up across the globe, they can effectively activate further capacity as the plants come online. In addition, Rockwell engineers are assisting the RE engineers with this initial setup in an on-the-job training programme, meaning that RE will be self-sufficient for future changes and rollouts. It's not all about technology, though. Technology is only part of the picture, and on its own, it won't be enough. It's about how you implement the technology, working with your people and developing your processes. To be able to be agile, adaptable, and benefit from the market drivers and trends that we see, companies need to look at how they will combine the people, the process, and the enabling technologies to set them apart from the peers. Trying to increase operational efficiencies without utilising all 3 tenets will unlikely provide long-term sustainable growth and resilience to the turbulent marketplace. So in summary, the last 5 years have seen advances in technology faster than ever before. Wide acceptance of industrial cart technology, which is actually showcased on our stand in the exhibition next door, and the flexibility that this can bring manufacturers. Wider acceptance of augmented reality, the ability to take the masses of data that are already being captured on the shop floor, but then use artificial intelligence to turn it into real-time, contextualized information cost effectively. Wider acceptance of cloud computing and software as a service, and the flexibility that brings this, as seen in the Barrett Steel and the RE Automotive examples. I believe that this relentless speed on the introduction of new ideas isn't going to slow down. If anything, it's going to increase. And we all need to become comfortable in this new way of working. But with the right mindset and partner ecosystem, it's something that can make a really positive impact on UK manufacturing. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. I hope you have a fantastic event and it inspires some new ideas that you can take back to your organisations. If you'd like to discuss any aspects of your business needs with us, please feel free to speak to myself or any of the other Rockwell team that are here today. Thanks very much.
Does anybody have any questions? It's like you're running off the stage already. You don't want to answer them. Does anyone have any questions at all? The other thing is, Phil, you're in the panel discussion later on, aren't you?
I believe so.
So if there's any questions that you've got there, you can ask Phil some of those. Right, so thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to move straight along to our next guest. Just seen him. There he is. I thought you'd run away then. Okay, so we've got Paul Richards, and he's talking about things to consider when purchasing a cobot. Again, questions happening at the end, and then we've got a panel discussion that's going to be happening, I believe, yes, just after that. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Lindsay. Hello, everybody. Good to see some familiar faces here, and really good to see new faces and people that we don't know as well. Just a quick introduction. My name's Paul Richards. I worked for 5 or 6 years working for FANUC UK in the robot sales team. And for the last 12 months, I've worked for FANUC in Europe in a sales coordination role, concentrating really on the cobot market. So the presentation today is really about investment in your first cobot and try and point out a few things of the way of going about it, looking at it. It's aimed very much at an end user type of customer. So we'll go through seven in total sort of points of things to consider, and that's the agenda. So what is a cobot and where does it fit? I think before we talk about that, what we really need to talk about is something that was touched on by Tom first thing this morning, is really about the report that came out from IFR, the International Federation of Robotics, their latest report, to where the UK stands for the number of robots installed per 10,000 employees in manufacturing. So as you can see there, we're 24th out of 42 nations, and yet we're still the 9th largest manufacturing country in the world. You know, we're kind of well behind really in investment. And even more worrying is that last year, 2021, the IFR reported in the UK, general industrial robots in the main were down by 7% on the previous year. We kind of need to do something to become more competitive. And yet, cobots installed globally were actually increased by 50%. So cobots are really on the mark, on the increase globally. Whether that would be higher without the current situations that we're in, and COVID and everything else, don't really know, but it's still an impressive figure. I think as the previous presentation covered really, we're kind of in an area now in manufacturing of a new norm. We're looking at lots of different challenges. Product life is usually quite short. Marketing demands that some products are packaged differently, different quantities, different size packets, something that's more attractive. Life cycles are much shorter. So everything has to become a lot more sort of agile and easier to change, which I think is why, particularly certain industries, that it's easy for manufacturers to use manual labour because we are very flexible. There is a shortage of skilled and unskilled labour. It's not just in the UK. It's the whole of Europe and America as well. Everybody's seeming to struggle with it. Also, employees really don't like to do dull, dirty and dangerous roles. And this has kind of been escalated with a shortage of stuff as well since COVID, because a lot of people just said, oh, why do I want to go out and do this? And they started to rethink their lives. They might be close to retirement, so they might decide, well, why do I want all this pressure, or going to something, putting tins on supermarket shelves and whatever. But it means that we've lost a lot of skilled and also unskilled labour, which has maybe moved back to Europe as well, out of the UK. Cobots, we're finding statistically, is driven a lot, sales are driven a lot by SMEs. And in the UK, we're looking at over 99% of manufacturing companies are SMEs. And then the graph there, again from statistics from IFR, show the percentage growth of overall robots, industrial robots, compared to cobots. So we're up to around about 8% last year of all robots. So where do cobots fit in to manufacturing? Where do they fit? What is the difference? On the far-hand side, we have the less flexible type of automation, what I call hard automation, type of machine that will produce 1 million parts a day or something like that. But it'll do 1 million parts a day very, very fast, very efficiently, but it's really not very flexible. If you want to change something, it's very difficult, very expensive to do. That's where industrial robots come in, where you could change things, you can do slight changes, you can reprogram, you can retool. There is a certain amount of flexibility with it. On the far right-hand side, you get the most flexibility from a person, from a human. And it's amazing how flexible a person is. You ask somebody to pick something up and put it down. You think, well, that's easy, I'll pick it up, put it down. Something in your head will say, I'm not going to pick that up. It's red hot. It's going to burn me. It's going to hurt me, it's going to, or there's a bare wire on that, I know not to pick that up. A robot wouldn't necessarily know that, but so you have to build in intelligence on it. So it's amazing how adaptable a human can be. So what we see is cobots are somewhere in between the industrial robot and the human. So the first step, really, you need to assess your business. Automation for automation's sake is really pretty pointless and quite often doesn't work. What are the pain points hindering the growth of your company? Is it skilled labour shortage, or is it unskilled labour? Could be either. Staff reliability, because robots don't get sick, but people can get sick for all sorts of reasons. Repetitive strain injury, health and safety, so it could be from lifting, it could be from also from things like white finger, from vibration, from polishing, or deburring operations, something like that. Inflexibility of hard automation. I've seen this particularly in the food industry, where the likes now of some of the supermarkets like Aldi and Lidl want to buy the product from a food manufacturer, but they don't want to buy them in big packs, they want to buy them in small packs. But their automation is set up for producing at really high volumes. So then what they do is employ people to unpack and repack and put them into smaller boxes. So costly returns. So if there's any quality issues, that's quite a costly thing to do. Somebody has to get them back, put the product right. You lose customer reputation. Those people are not really adding any value to the business. Could you run more than a single shift pattern? Cobots can run through the night, not a problem, or anything else. So employees, particularly nowadays, really don't want to go into dull, dirty, dangerous or repetitive jobs. They just rather not do them. It's a fact. None of us want to do those. So list the tasks that the human is not bringing any value to. Are they picking something up and putting something down? And during that time, they do an inspection. The green button's on there. If the green button isn't there, I'll put it over there. But the green button's there, so I'll put it there. But if they're just picking up and putting down, just machine loading, with nothing else, no other value, look at it again. Health and safety. Pay attention to mental load. So if somebody has an inspection job and they're working an 8-hour shift to check that green button's on there, are they really going to be able to concentrate that well? It's a simple enough task, but to keep doing that hour after hour, really not an easy thing to do. And where can your good skilled labour be reutilised, and you could employ a cobot in place of that person. So you're really using that person's intelligence and natural human ability. I'd always recommend, and I think this was mentioned in the previous presentation as well, is to get buy-in. Try and get somebody to work within the company to be a champion, to work with you, to really get behind it and make a cobot in your production environment a success. If they're with you, they'll go the journey and you'll find also staff loyalty from it. Okay, so evaluate the potential applications and choose which are the most valuable ones. So you could analyse the application, cycle times. Now, not every application is suitable for a cobot. It might be that you need an industrial robot, it might be that you need hard automation. Dare say, if you're in the production environment of manufacturing millions, you already know that. But it might also not be a cobot application. Keep an open mind. Talk to somebody, talk to a manufacturer, talk to FANUC about what to do. Is it really a cobot? Because this is maybe on the border of being too quick for a cobot. Which applications are suitable? One of the ways of looking at this around cycle time is that the safety around a cobot is based on a maximum of 250 millimeters a second. That's if you don't have any other guarding or any other safety devices, but you're actually working next to the cobot. So that's kind of a good point to start at, to see whether it's going to be suitable or not. Then you could also say, well, if the cobot is not quick enough for doing the application, is the part of the application I could do behind a guard? So then the operator is working close to the cobot, doing something with it, doing something on the part, and the cobot's there. Then the cobot goes into a guard or into a safety area and then can move at higher speed. So it's not always clear cut that it's just the 250 millimeters a second. There's other things you can do. Do not start with the most difficult application. I've been working in automation environment now for getting on for 25 years, and it has happened a lot of times where a customer will say, I want to look at this, 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 this and this. There's an application for automation. This one's really difficult. If we can do that, we can do the rest. Start with that. And it can't be done. So who's lost out? Well, I did for one. But then the customer loses out because of all the other applications that could have been done where they would have had advantage with automation, they've lost out on. So start with something simple, not the most difficult. It doesn't really make sense. So evaluate the application and score it based on, is the task precise? Does it have to be very accurate? There are uncomfortable motions involved in it. Are there high rejection rates? Long manual cycle times? No added value by a human, already covered. Heavy loads? 15-kilogram boxes to pick up day after day by a person is not really a very pleasant job to do. Constant human presence needed. Human intelligent functions such as vision and sensing. So you need to know where something is. Is it in a fixture or is it somewhere loose or around about that needs to be found, that need to find the part? And does the part change regularly in small batch sizes? So you can see some examples here. Welding is a skilled job, and there's hazard from fumes. You need extraction. The fumes have been, now there's a lot of research is saying that it can be carcinogenic. Pick and place can be very dull and repetitive. The food industry, you've got hygiene to consider. People coming in and out, are they washing their hands? Are they keeping their hairnet on? And that sort of thing. And then machine loading, what about lights out operation for a cobot loading and unloading a machine? So that would also, as a side benefit of that, would give you a better return on investment than the machine tool that you just paid £250,000 for, something like that. Safety concerns. Okay, so all industrial cobots on the market should actually apply to the industrial standards. As they come out of a box, get plugged in, a cobot generally is safe. What makes it unsafe is the application. You put something dangerous on the end of it, you've got a dangerous piece of equipment. Evaluate safety concerns at every step of your planning. So for instance, you're putting a part into a machine, the robot takes the part out of the machine. If it's a CNC machine, a milling machine, it's going in one state and coming out at another. It could go in and there's absolutely no way of you hurting yourself or cutting yourself on it when it comes out. It could have sharp edges, very sharp edges, for instance. So it needs to evaluate every stage. You do need to do a risk assessment. Every time, if you change the program, you change the operation, you change the gripper. So if you've got a cobot where you can use for very similar applications, then the work done on the risk assessment can be reduced if a lot of the equipment is staying the same. If you pick it up, refit it, and it's completely different, you're picking a tray of hot buns out of an oven 1 minute and putting product into a CNC the next, it's going to be a lot of work on risk assessment. So consider what the process involves. Working directly with a human, are you lifting heavy items, exposed to fumes? These are some of the examples of what you could do around safety. We still see quite a lot of cobots fully guarded. Crazy, but it is a fact. It's less flexible, it adds cost. If you're going to guard it, you really need to interlock it. People here selling interlocks. The idea of a cobot is that there shouldn't be a requirement for that. You could have manual intervention. In this case, there would be no guarding required. Maybe the cobot does part of the job and helps the operator. In which case, you could have maybe part of the cell guarded, not where the operator is. Or you could cooperate with the robot. There's a good example here, this picture here, where a CR35 robot is picking up a plate, putting it into position, and then the operator comes along and puts the screws into the plate. When he's done that, the robot then goes over and picks up, I think it's a spindle, a motor spindle, picks it up and places it onto a trolley, and it goes out. But the operator is working right next to the robot. Return on investment. It can trigger a really good positive reaction within the company, where the company want to invest more and more, either more cobots or move into industrial automation. Some of the benefits can be energy cost saving and sustainability, which you were talking about earlier on. Cobots can work in the dark, low power consumption, 240 volt. Certainly the CRX is really quite low power consumption. Production capacity. It can handle ups and downs within the market. Sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not needed. Reduce errors. So you could release valuable resources for reworking, because the robot will do the job, a cobot will do the job repeatably. Higher quality standards and customer reputation increase. Very difficult to measure some of these things, certainly for a small company, but they are definitely there. And avoided accidents and health and safety issues. Staff retention. If they're not doing the dull, dirty and dangerous jobs, they're more likely to stay with you. And if you get a champion, somebody that's working with a cobot, we were talking earlier on, I think the lady there was saying what is to encourage people into the industry. It's kind of a different thing for young people with a CRX. You're working with a Samsung tablet, you're dragging icons around. It's kind of familiarity for them. So the International Federation of Robotics, IFR, consider that 12 years is the average life, should be an average life for a cobot, for a robot. It's actually quite underestimated. Something to consider with this is what would be the residual value of your cobot. So if you want to purchase the cobot and finance it or lease it, a lot of that cost is based on what the residual value would be after a certain time. Exactly the same as if you're leasing or financing a car. What's it going to be? So is that company going to be around in the long term? Are they still going to be there to support that product? Because if they're not, and there's a risk of that, then the finance company is not going to look too favourably on that. What service and support can the manufacturer offer? Downtime is not good for return on investment. Look at what the warranty period is. look at what the service requirements are, look at the uptimes. What is the predicted life of your cobot? How long will it be supported for? FANUC will support a product for its entirety of its life. So if you're using that product for over 25 years or more, it'll still be supported. Not a problem. How versatile is the cobot? For example, can it be used in a harsh environment? Is it future-proof with other application software? And what warranty and service costs are involved? And also, I think this is quite important as well, if you're an end customer and an end user and you're looking at buying your first cobot, you kind of need help. You need help to decide how the product's going to come into the cobot, how it's going to go out. It's not just the cobot, it's a lot of ancillary equipment as well. That needs consideration. And sometimes it's much better to talk to your supplier of the cobot. People in FANUC can do this now. We'll help you with some idea of how the product can get to and from, and safety concerns and everything else. But it's difficult. We know of well over 60 manufacturers now of cobots worldwide, and there seems to be a new one every month. So it's becoming very, very cluttered in the market. So, choosing your robot. Reach, payload, repeatability, additional sensors, environment, connectivity, uploading and future-proofing, ease of programming. All 7 things. So we'll just look at these individually now, if I've got time. So start with the payload. A reach and payload. Start with the payload. So what I mean by this, and I've seen this so many times as well, I've got a cobot. I've got a robot. Yeah, but it's not big enough for what you want to do. What have you done? You bought something that looked okay, but it's not really quite big enough for what you want to do. Start with the part and look at the payload. This is a little bit deceptive. People say, well, I'm only picking up 2 kilograms and I've got a 10 kilogram payload robot. Yes, but what about the gripper? What about the end effector? What about everything else? And what about the offset payload? People can help you with this, but you have to look at the offset payload. It's like holding a bag of sugar out there, holding a bag of sugar there. It's a damn sight easier. On top of that, inertia. Take into account the inertia. Bag of sugar doing that is a lot different to a bag of sugar doing that. It sounds silly. There's manufacturers of cobots out there that do not make you aware of this. Reach. The reach of the robot is, as you can see there, is a sphere. So it can work under itself as well. And it works generally on cobots from the end of axis 6. Industrial robots have always worked that they go from the centre of axis 5, which is the next axis in. Cobots work from axis 6. So just be careful with it, because at the end you need to kind of have a little bit of movement to do something with. So analyse the reach as well. And also, if you bear in mind that because you're looking at a sphere, you can't always get to the top corner of something even though you've got the reach because of the height. Repeatability. Yeah, most robots are pretty good. They're very good on repeatability, so they will go back to the same position repeatably by whatever. In our case, on a CRX5 is you know, less than a thousandth of an inch. And the CRX 25 sort of 2,000ths of an inch, we're talking in old money. But it's not the same as path accuracy. So if you need path accuracy, need to look into that a little bit more. What else needs to be considered? Additional sensors. You can see on the top there, you can use cameras. You could have a camera mounted on the robot. You could have a camera mounted above the product. If you're always going to be picking from the same place, then maybe a remote mounted camera is good. The robot mounted camera will give you more flexibility. You can move the camera around with the robot for different applications, even to the point now where you could, if you have a cobot on a trolley, you could have markers on a machine tool and run a cycle. It'll find where the machine is, so you don't have to reprogram datums of where the machine is. And it's not always that expensive either. There is also sensors. There's internal or external force sensors. The CRX has internal force sensors, so it will be able to find, if in that case there, of assembling gears and putting gears into mesh, or things like polishing, like you could see out there on the petrol tank, which is being polished. That is being done with an external force sensor. If you use an internal force sensor, it's not quite as accurate or as high a resolution as the external one. The environment. So if you're operating in a food environment, you need to consider things like washdown and IP rating of ingress protection rating. Is it a dusty or dirty environment? You imagine working in a foundry where you've got a lot of silicon in the air from sand, and then you've got joints which rubbing together. It's going to be like a lapping paste. Joints are not going to last long. You need a good protection rating in an industrial environment. Machine tool coolant as well. It's quite nasty. Can fetch paint off and get ingress. So CRX IP67 is pretty good. Connectivity. Consider if you're connecting to something like a machine, other ancillary equipment. What are you connecting to, and is it going to use standard I/O, which is nice and simple, or are you going to use a field bus? Try and pick the same field bus in the robot or cobot as you do for the machine. That'll save you a lot of effort and cost as well. Future-proofing and upgrading. How flexible is the cobot for new applications? Has it got application software on there that can be supported? Can the software be updated nice and easily when there's improvements and bugs and that sort of thing? The CRX can. There's continual updates on it, increasing functionality and giving you better value for money. And what if you need an industrial robot in the future? You start with a cobot, you move on, you need to go to something else. If you move to a company that just manufactures cobots and you need an industrial robot, you've got a learning curve again. Different supplier, different manufacturer, different robot language. Look at the programming. The CRX uses icon-based programming, so it's really very, very easy. I think you have to be careful when things are made too easy that they lose a little bit of functionality as well to make it easy. So investigate what can be done behind that. If you need to do something a little bit more complicated sometime in the future, how is that going to be able to be done? Because quite often easy programming is restrictive. Luckily, the CRX, you can go into 2 other languages to be able to do programming. So there's no real restriction on it. It's exactly the same as an industrial robot. Also, might be worth considering offline programming. Why? Well, if you are regularly reprogramming your robot, while somebody's standing there like this young lady here, that's not really in production. If you invest in an offline programming system, that next program could be ready, up and running, proved out, download the program, up and running. You're not stopping the production. If you're doing a lot of reprogramming, it's certainly worth considering. And it's not really all that expensive. So look beyond your first cobot as well. If you bought the first one, you obviously believe in robotisation. You obviously believe in using robots. And it should really pave the way for more cobots. Reveal the passion for cobots and programming, and it can be quite inspiring, particularly for young people that want to get into this. Nurture curiosity within the robot company. There's always new releases and new products and new things coming out. And always again, look for new applications. Look for more profitable applications that you can apply. If you're an end customer and it's your first venture into robotics and cobots, I would really consider talking to a system integrator. Why do I say this? It's going to cost you a little bit more money, but what are the benefits? You get quicker deployment. There's less of a learning curve. You will learn from them. Risk assessments and safety considerations are taken care of because they have to supply a safe system to you. Advise the best, they could advise on the best equipment supplier, what is the best gripper, what's the best equipment, what's the best way of getting the part in, and the best way of getting the part out to a cell, for instance. The programming technique is sorted. because they know how to program, not just in the timeline programming with the icons, but also in any other language as well. Peripheral equipment communication would be sorted as well if you need to interface to another machine. And they'd have the knowledge of the best cell design. And you'd learn a lot from it. So that's almost me done. Yeah, sorry, system integrator. They have a commitment to supply you a working cell as well that is safe, working, and is right for your needs. You don't pay the final instalment, and that's it. I hope you found that interesting. Anybody got any questions?
Anyone?
Are you still awake?
No, I found that really, really interesting.
Good,
Thank you
good.
so much, Paul. Anybody have any questions at all? I know sometimes you sit there and everyone gets a bit shy, but anything at all? No. Oh, yes.
Oh,
See, yeah.
Bob.
Thank you. Oh, well, just wait. Just if you've got the microphone, just yeah, and then just speak quite loudly and clearly into it, please.
Yeah, just a quick one, Paul. You mentioned IP rating. I think you mentioned IP 67.
Yes.
Is that just the axis 6, or is that the every joint on the robot?
On the CRX, it's all of the joints, every joint. Yeah.
Could it be considered as usable in a washdown environment in the food industry?
Yes. Yeah.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the CRX has got a food-grade grease option and epoxy paint option as well. So not just wash down, but it does have the food-grade grease if you're working in a food environment. And also, another option is you can feed the supply in from the bottom, so there's no cables on the outside. Yeah.
That's great to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? I think it's just great because, Paul, you know, this is what the sessions like this are all about. You know, the questions coming at you and you've got the answers.
Yeah,
You've been in the industry for such, you know, 25 years. So, okay, right. Thank you very much, Paul. Now, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Now, as a company, MTD CNC, we go out on the road, and a lot of what I like to say to people is the best salesperson for your company is your customer. And I think this is where, you know, FANUC really wanted to bring the next company on board, because this is a case study, so it's real life. So could I welcome onto the stage, they're hiding in the back there, so if you'd like to come forward, start the presentation. It is a little bit earlier, but that's absolutely fine. There's time for questions afterwards as well. So I'd like to welcome on the stage Bloom in Box, David Reardon, Tom Reardon, and Hannah Reardon. So thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for having us today. A little introduction of who we have here today is David, Tom and myself, Hannah. We are a family-run company, Bloom Box, or BIB for short. We've come here to talk to you today about Bloom Box and our energy efficiency, keeping us on the road to net zero. Who are we? So in the pictures you have Grandpa. It's approximately 1960. Alan began our journey into the plastics industry, and we wouldn't actually be stood here today if it wasn't for him. David joined in 1988, and over the years, Tom and I joined. It was never really our plan, but we absolutely love it. Our roles: David is a toolmaker, helping us come up with all our new products, taking our ideas through to production. Tom is our robotics and mechatronics engineer. And myself, I run the e-commerce side to the company, admin, and keeping these two in check. But we all do a bit of everything to keep us on toes, from the day-to-day running of the machines to tasks. I shall now pass you over to David. He can talk a little bit about what we actually do. Here you go.
Just put my glasses on. Hi. So what do we do? Well, primarily we're injection moulders. We make and sell our own product range, so we're not a trade moulder. We make anything from scoops and measures, wall spikes for deterring birds, floristry boxes, clothes pegs, flooring systems, and our EcoBot flower box is actually where the name comes from, Bloom in Box. We sell them on Amazon and eBay, as well as business to business as well, and we have separate divisions. Obviously, Hannah runs the online stuff. But we also do tool making in-house, where we do our own product design, we do 3D printing, and our aim is that we make everything in-house from the initial idea and design right the way through. This actually helps us because it allows for innovation, but it also helps to keep our main focus, which is to keep the planet in mind. So we always try and be as energy efficient and efficient with materials as possible. An example of this is during the first year of the pandemic, we received funding from Innovate UK to make a reusable, washable face mask. This had a TPU seal, which was interchangeable for different face shapes, and a front which housed a HEPA filter, which was over-molded. You could wash the filter and it would come back to normal. Our ethos has always had the environment in mind, whether that be designing in reuse or simply using recycled materials. And our strapline is that we like to create products with more than one life. So why did we choose FANUC? It's not just because we like the colour yellow, but why would we choose anything else? Like many moulders, we have experience with hydraulic machines. However, in 2000, we bought the first second-hand all-electric machine. It wasn't a FANUC, but the concept was a little daunting. However, the learning curve to switch from hydraulic to electric wasn't as daunting, as difficult as you might think. The energy saving was, and it was in the right direction. So from then on, I started to try and develop the company, and we used then the Carbon Trust funding, which was available to buy energy-efficient machines. And today, all of our machines are all electric. We also switched to servo robots, of which FANUC is obviously one of them. And again, that reduced the use of compressed air, which can be one of the biggest users for energy. The support and help we received from FANUC has been a major driving factor in why we chose to use them, both then and now. FANUC build machines to last, and with very, very longevity and spare parts available for up to 25 years, it can be also an environmental factor that you're not permanently replacing and reusing. So it's a very sustainable choice. I have been said in the past that going electric was a silly situation. Only big companies ever go for it. It's not quite so silly anymore. And no, I don't work for FANUC. So our aim is to become net zero, but our first step is to just become carbon neutral. The next few slides will show you what we've actually been doing. As part of this, and as a way of reducing the carbon footprint and also to reduce our energy consumption, we installed a 40 kWp solar system on the roof of our factory. It was done with a project called McCaw, and this was part funded from one of the local universities. And the aim was to reduce our carbon footprint through doing studies on what we were using, how we used it. The solar panels have reduced both our energy demand and the carbon emissions. So far, we've saved about 8 tons of CO2 this year, and we'll save a similar amount each year. For every 1 kilowatt of energy saved, 0.2 kilograms of CO2 is saved. There's also another benefit to having less energy use, and that is your supply capacity can be altered. So if you're expanding, you can sometimes find that you've only got a certain kVA. So you might have 200 kVA, but you need 300 kVA for all your next equipment. If you reduce your energy consumption, you can manage with the 200 kVA. We're running 5 machines, some CNC equipment, compressors, all on 60 kVA. So one of the reasons we've worked with FANUC is we've invested in a RoboShop machine, and we've seen significant savings compared with our other electric machines. And with a long history of using electric, we do know how they work. And that's why we decided to replace it with the new machines. So if I hand over to Tom, he can give you a little bit more detail on exactly how that project has been running.
Hi, I'm Tom, and I handle the energy management at Blooming Box. There's always sort of 2 aspects to energy management for us. The first is sort of our vision of being carbon neutral, with business sort of aiming for net zero. Obviously, net zero is where you don't produce any emissions through what you do. 95% of our emissions are from electricity, so that's why we're trying to sort of bring that down. We started the process of putting solar panels in about 2 years ago, 18 months, and it's taken a while to get us to where we are now. But once they're up, the solar panels will last for about 25 years with a slight degradation each year, but we're averaging about 36 megawatt hours a year from the solar. You can see on here, we've got our FANUC RoboShot, and this is assuming we've run 6,200 hours in the year. And you could see you could probably run 2 of those machines without actually having to use any energy from the grid. The one on the end is a machine we do have on site, and you can see the sort of the saving, even though it's an electric machine, just by simply switching to a RoboShot that we've managed to achieve. We're hoping by investing in more RoboShots that we'll be able to bring down our reliance on the grid electricity, and the solar will provide 60 to 75% of our energy. And we do plan to put more solar in with an extension on the end of our building. The second sort of aspect of energy management is the cost savings that you get from replacing with energy efficient technology. And it's always a thing that we've considered when investing in machinery. Before the crisis, we saw that energy, was going up year on year, and that was one of the factors. But obviously now we've gone into this crisis, energy has gone way above what we expected, and we don't really expect it to come down any less. So the payback on machinery could be a lot quicker than first anticipated. I think I did some calculations, and within 10 years, some machines could pay themselves back, and I think that's quite a quick payback for such large machines. Working with FANUC as well, they were able to provide some data. So the one in the middle is one of the next machines we'd like to look at, which is the 50-ton RoboShot. And again, you could see we could run several of those on the solar generation that we're getting on site. And it's one of the reasons, we'd like to transition to their machines as soon as we can. FANUC are also working with us to put a heater jacket on our barrels of the machines, because we go to the next slide, sorry. The heaters on the machines are sort of the main contributor to the power. So this is actually directly from our machine on site. And the heater jacket hopefully will bring down that power usage, which is the one in red, and hopefully get us more of a saving. And if you do that across all of your machines, you can potentially save yourself a lot of money each year. When you sort of look at the table on the screen, you can see that one of the reasons that the FANUCs are so energy efficient is that they regenerate the power that they're using. So when the machine's moving backwards and forwards, the power of braking and accelerating can be used to put energy back into the machine itself. And so, yeah, it's one of the reasons we've chose FANUC, and we're hoping to invest in a lot more of their machinery. As we say, we use their automation, the 6-axis robots throughout the factory. And I highly recommend going down that route. I'll hand you back to Hannah, who will...
Me? So yes, thank you very much for listening. And any questions, I shall be directing them to Tom and David. There we go. Any questions?
Any questions from anyone? Is there anything else that you would like us to add or tell people or voice your opinion with regards to?
No, I think just to look at the broader picture. I mean, we've been doing energy conservation since 1996, so it's not something that's new to us. And I genuinely believe that electricity is the new oil. It isn't going to come down. And when you work out that the consumption and the actual prices that you are paying, I mean, obviously at the moment we're paying ridiculous prices, but they're not going to come down as much as I think people would like. And that is going to have a massive impact if you calculate it forward through your entire process with everything you're using. And we look at everything from even the light switches. Tom has near enough a monitor on every single piece of electrical equipment that we've got, from the heater back jackets. We've also found that changing mold tools, so redesign some energy efficiency into it, maybe with a thinner wall. Obviously, we can do that because we do it in-house, so it does it a little bit easier. But also just looking at manifolds, so a switch of a new manifold, maybe expensive as a capital purchase, but the actual saving is really very noticeable. And certainly we've noticed it we have some old tools, don't we, that we're currently now redoing, and we will be comparing the data from the old tool running a manifold that's maybe 10 years old to a manifold that is 6 months old. And certainly at the moment, what we're seeing with the small tests we've done, that saving is quite significant.
David, why do you think people are so hesitant to think about this whole kind of side of the business?
I think initially people thought electricity and energy wasn't going to be that expensive. Obviously, the climate situation has come in as well, so that's on top. I'm putting the climate even to one side here. I'm just saying this is just a sensible business solution. I think sometimes people are a little put off. I certainly know from coming from having hydraulic machines up to 450 tons at one time, there's a lot of hesitancy from the staff saying, well, we don't really know how to work these, and they're going to be a bit complicated, and it's different to what I've used before. But it's not that difficult if you follow the training, really. And they're actually quite easy to use and very reliable. I mean, we're running now, and there's no one there. That is an example.
Yeah. Any questions? No? Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to flow straight into the panel discussion. So, Hannah, thank you very much. We're going to change your microphone over, and I'm going to welcome to the stage now. Yes, massive round of applause. At 12:30, so after this panel discussion, lunch will be served. You'll be able to go through to the exhibition and the showroom. And also at 2 o'clock, there's going to be some demonstrations, training demonstrations happening in this room. So for the last part of the presentation, can I please welcome onto the stage? They're going to be talking about sustainability and putting that at the forefront of your manufacturing plans. So please welcome to the stage. We've got David and Tom already, but we've got Phil Hadfield, who did a presentation earlier, and we've got Oliver Selby from FANUC, and we've got MTD CNC's Paul Jones, who's going to be trying to look at it, maybe play a bit of devil's advocate from a engineer's perspective as well. So please welcome to the stage.
Hi, thank you.
Nice.
Hey, you're right.
Not at all.
We have got roaming microphones, so if you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone straight over to you. So over to you. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just get each of you just to introduce yourself, say why you're talking about this topic, what it means to you, and then we'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll kick off. My name's Oliver Selby. I'm responsible for sales here in the UK and Ireland for all of the product ranges, CNC, robotics, and our robo machines, which include robo drill, robo cut, robo shot. The robo shot, obviously, with Bloom and Box. They use those and the robots.
We do.
Yep. So.
I'm Paul Jones, the CEO of MTD CNC, one of the world's leading news channels for manufacturing. Work closely with FANUC. Interested in sustainability, I suppose. I'm probably the youngest on this panel, so probably more important to me than you.
Hi, my name's Phil Hadfield. I lead Rockwell Automation in the UK. And I guess my interest around sustainability really is, obviously for the obvious reasons from a point of view of, driving the global warming and things like that, or reducing global warming. But also, I'm passionate about manufacturing and UK manufacturing. And I think, for us to remain competitive in a global marketplace in the UK, it's going to be a key business driver moving forward.
David Reardon, for anyone who wasn't here before. We're from Bloom and Box. We're injection molders, tool makers, and very, very keen on protecting our environment.
Hi, Tom Reardon. I sort of have a passion for sustainability and certainly trying to improve the process of manufacturing to make it sort of the best it can be.
I mean, I think, for me, I'd ask you the question, Oliver, to start with, that when you look at your list of things you need to do in the day for a small business, let's take, a lot of the companies that I visit daily and the MTD CNC team visit are small to medium-sized engineering businesses. Like me, they probably get up and they've got 1,000,001 things to think about. And at the bottom of that list is probably, how do I become more sustainable and efficient? How do you move that up the list? And what tools does FANUC offer that can make it easy to implement?
Yeah, it's a good question, Paul, and a bit of a, I'd say, a bit of a chicken and egg situation in that you have to commit to the right manufacturing methods just to fit your customers' requirements and the needs of the customer. But at the same time, you do want to ensure that you've got that longer legacy of equipment there, knowing that one contract may finish and you may then need to go obviously on to the next one, knowing that it's got different requirements. I think some of the tools that FANUC offer are certainly pre-sale, are simulation type tools, allowing for kind of longer lifetime type span financial models to ensure that we've got, or the customer ends up with the right equipment going forward. We can actually measure the energy usage, believe it or not, of a lot of the equipment pre-sale, so that effectively you know kind of going forward what your ongoing monthly, yearly costs for energy are going to be, should you use it a certain number of hours, like you've demonstrated there, Tom. And also not only with shop, also with robots, CNC, and the other products we offer, we have all those tools available pre-sale to actually give you that energy usage. Post-sale, every machine that we offer up has an energy monitor, has the ability to export that energy usage, and in a lot of the cases that we actually have the ability to actually optimize machines based on energy usage. So should you have a robot cycle moving, let's say, concrete slabs from point A to point B, and you know you need to do that in 10 seconds, for example, and the robot can do it in 8, well, let's slow that robot down to 10 seconds in the most efficient way to save the energy. So all those tools exist, and I think that's something that more and more we're being asked by equipment suppliers.
But do you find that when you do talk to a lot of people, it isn't necessarily a priority? Because what's a priority?
Let's say more and more the energy usage is coming into the conversation in the very early stages of obviously when they start discussing with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you guys have anything else to add to that? I mean, your story is absolutely superb. I've got to say that it really is
I think it's what you're saying is it was at the back of people's minds, and I have genuinely had people say to me, "Why on earth would you, small company like you, buy an electric machine at that sort of level?" But we look at now people paying 35 pence a kilowatt hour, and even some companies local to us have just gone from 17 pence to £1. And I know there's a cap. The cap won't last very long. Yep. That's an enormous, and in a lot of cases, if you compare that with some, it's not just electric molding machines or robots. If you look at robots that may be driven with air, you've got a compressor in the background, and certainly Tom's found that the compressor is one of the biggest users. So it's always been at the front of our mind, and I think it's probably now at the front of an awful lot of other people's minds as well.
Yep. As a percentage, though, it's interesting to see how much focus you've put on that, because, like I said, I try and liken things to what I do every day and what engineers in machine shops do every day, and their priorities, as I say, hopefully are shifting to that way, and you're a good example. So,
yeah,
I think you've got to have the two goals in mind, as I discussed earlier. Is the net zero target has got to be one of the key things, because obviously that's now a set-in-law goal that businesses and the UK has to achieve, and then the cost as well. And if you put those two together, it makes it more of a driving force towards
compelling business case.
Yeah, switching. And certainly, I've found customers are starting to ask for what are your environmental credentials, and if you have an environmental policy, and that has to tie into becoming net zero, and you have to be shown that you are taking the steps to achieve that end goal. Now, everyone has to achieve net zero at the same time, because obviously I can't make electricity or all the electricity that we need, so it's always going to have a bit of emissions attached to it. So once that becomes renewable energy, then I will be able to sort of transition us to that net zero goal. So it's a collective thing for everyone to do, and I think that's what we've got to be the driving factor, is push everyone down that sustainability route, and then explain that, sustainability can actually be cost saving as well. And over a long period of time, you can save a lot of money.
Yeah. What about from a
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think there's four facets to it, and I think the drivers really, yes, it's an ethically good thing to do. It's, as we've seen, from the great example from you guys, it helps with cost-effective manufacturing. It reduces your costs. I think also the consumer demand, we demand it as consumers now more and more. When we buy products, we're looking into, the carbon footprint that those products have created during the process. And, I saw some great videos as I was signing in today, and FANUC were talking about the remanufacturing. So it's not just about, how much of a carbon footprint did it cost to make this iPad, but is it maintainable? Can it be remanufactured? Can it be reused, recycled? And then I think, cutting in onto what you said, I think, the reality is there's going to be some really stringent regulation coming down the road in the next couple of years. They're talking about sustainable digital passports for products to be sold, in the European marketplace. And I think it's coming. We've got to react now, because if we don't react now, we're going to be left behind.
And what about products that FANUC would offer? That the lifetime of a product. How's that measured, and what?
Yeah, I think we are extremely lucky. I'm extremely lucky to work for a Japanese company that's got nature and ethical business at the forefront of what it does. So I mean, for those that understand sort of where FANUC have come from, we sit in a national forest at the foot of Mount Fuji where we manufacture our product. Quite a special place, but we are only really caretaker of the land that our factory sits on. We will at some point, if we ever move away, have to put that back to the forest that we actually took over in that respect. So we've got that really at the forefront of what we do. What we see from a product lifetime point of view is that FANUC have a commitment to all of its customers, where we say that any product that a customer purchases, we will actually commit to in keeping that piece of equipment in production for the entire lifetime. Now you say, well, what is the lifetime? Well, we don't put a number on that, like maybe other manufacturers or certain car manufacturers may, in terms of sustaining the support on that particular product. It's for as long as you're using it in your production. So in 30, 40 years' time, Tom, when you're still using your 50-ton RoboShot, rest assured, FANUC will still support that, you know, which is a really, really nice position
Maybe not you
to be in.
personally, but...
Not me personally.
Was that in your? Was that an influencer in your?
Yeah, that is one of the driving factors with moving to FANUC. Is I remember when we came to when this site opened, and I forget his name, but your boss from Japan said that we will guarantee parts for any machine, for any life, for life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is a really big selling factor, because if you think you're not creating even more waste, that machine is going in, and I think a good example is you don't ever see second-hand FANUCs really pop up. And
you go in many companies where they are, and I mean, this isn't a sales pitch for you, Oliver, I can assure you, for the people watching and listening, but you do see machinery and equipment that is, has been in there decades in some respects, isn't it?
And what we see is that where there is a second-hand market, those machines are being snapped up for reuse. So it's quite common to go into some factories, and whether they are jobbing shops, doing sheet metal work, or whatever it may be, seeing robots that are in that second lifetime that have come out of an automotive plant or somewhere else and actually being reused. Robots that could be 16 to 25 years old, There does come a point where they need to be sort of, put to bed, so to say. But it's a long time down the road that actually we see that. And I mean, we see that the rise of robots and delivery of robots globally is really, really strong. And what we know is that those robots will be around for the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years, not maybe in one lifetime with one particular company, but they'll be in second and third lifetimes sort of by the time they finish their shift, so to say.
Yeah, I can actually, we're an example of that. Our first robot was a second-hand robot. It came via FANUC, but we also, bear in mind we're a very small company, so we're probably tiny by comparison to an awful lot of the companies here. We received the same support as a much bigger company and have done all the way through, and that is a driving factor. So we got, your robot was, you say, was recycled. It's still running.
Yeah, I mean,
doing
almost
its job.
20 years old.
And we've sort of have hopefully grown a bit with you, but you've always been there and given us the support that we needed, which is again part of that process. When something's wrong, we can fix it rather than just we don't do that anymore.
Is there anything else you'd want to add, Oliver, before, or any of you guys, before we kind of open up to the audience to see whether there's any? There is a question online. I should have brought my glasses.
Is the injection moulding machine the only sustainable product from FANUC?
I would say every FANUC product is sustainable in its own way. Define sustainable really when it comes to a kind of the way in which we all look at it. I mean, is it energy efficiency? Is it lifetime? The things we've already spoken about. Is it the use of grease and things like that? You know, and I mean, we're all trying to make every product under its development as environmentally friendly, as sustainable as we possibly can. The same goes for Rockwell. You look at some of the products that you've brought to market recently. It's mostly electric drives. Yep. You know, and doing things in a way that actually the energy usage is as low as it can be for that particular product.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, when I look at what we do, and I think the important thing is it sort of falls into 4 categories, I guess. There's the manufacturing that we do. We're a manufacturer, so we've got to look at things like you guys are doing with solar energy and stuff like that to really reduce our footprint in that respect. There's how we design our products and making sure that we design our products with sustainability in mind, so some of the functionality in there helps our customers extricate data or how they can run the products more sustainable. There's then the implementation of our products with our customers and making sure that they understand the best way to implement the products and really make sure that our customers can save as much energy and be as sustainable as possible. And then like FANUC, we have a remanufacturing process where we can take old products and make them like new again to really, elongate the life cycle of our products. So, we've got customers that have got 30-year-old PLCs still working on site, which, for an electronic piece of equipment, when you compare that with the IT industry where, 5 years and it's old and obsolete is really important, I think.
I suppose there's a balance for you, though. Would you like to sell them new equipment or refurbish old equipment? There's got to be a...
No, I think we're there. We don't mind either. We can make money doing both.
Yeah. I would point out on this, some of the work we've done with you guys on your robo-drill. There was Andy Harvey, there's a fantastic demonstration happening in your showroom, isn't there, of the World Cup beer machine and 1 or 2 other things. The regeneration of power through the spindles, that's quite an important feature, isn't it? Because if you imagine accelerating and decelerating, every time that happens, you're putting power back in. Is that right? Maybe.
Absolutely, yeah. So across the whole product range from FANUC, we have a regeneration function within the actual control architecture. So whether it's robo drill, cutting metal, injection molding, the robots working in a car production line, for example, we have the function to actually capture that energy upon deceleration of that drive, and then pump it back in and give it a squirt of energy when it starts to accelerate again, like your EV car will do. Or the good ones do, at least, to try and save their batteries. But yeah, we do that on an industrial scale with the products we offer.
And also the servicing and maintenance is important. The days are gone where you always have to visit site to execute or change things. You can do that kind of remotely now, can't you? Which again has got to be good.
Yeah, that's something that we have a tech support centre. Actually, we have about 6 or 7 across the globe. We do a follow the sun tech support, and the one for the Europe, Middle East and Africa is actually in Milton Keynes in the UK. And we're using, I mentioned in my presentation, the use of augmented reality and things like that, so that we can actually get our guys seeing the machine in operation and helping the customer get the thing up and running. And that saves on, sending field service engineers out, and it's also better for the customer because you can get them up and running quicker.
And would you have had experience of that in anything that you are working on or within?
Probably not.
Or nothing breaks down, does it?
Things go wrong, but it's normally human error.
Yeah. People do come in and they look at the factory running and they go, gosh, wow, why? This is just so easy. Everything, and the robots are always popular. They just like to see it. But things do go wrong, and that's when you need the support. But I think it's what you said. I don't think it's not just one piece of equipment that's going to solve the problem. It's like Tom said, it's not one company that's going to solve the problem. It's every company, and it's every consumer saying, well, if we're going to make a decision to buy something that is more sustainable and better for the planet rather than, well, it's just cheap. We'll go with that.
I agree.
And we'll throw it away and get another one.
I would add to that is that it's now probably our responsibility as a supplier, the same with Phil, that we actually start working probably closer together with the peripheral equipment suppliers that we kind of work in that field ourselves, but work with those peripheral equipment suppliers to ensure that the package that we can offer you as an end user is as together sustainable as possible. And that comes down to us working with them and communicating with them in a way that actually the complete package is kind of matched and ensure that it all works together, provides the insight that you need to obviously be able to commit to the automation and the products as a whole. So.
Okay, sounds good. Lindsay, another question.
What do customers look for before purchasing from you? Do they ask questions about sustainability? What do they ask? You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first on that one.
So I think, yes, absolutely. It's getting more and more prevalent, and I think it's going to go even more that way. I think, we're looking at, the carbon footprint of our products and how we can easily explain that to our customers. I think one of the things that customers are looking for now is the first thing you need to do, I think, in any organisation, the old adage, if you can't measure it, then you can't control it. And I think getting the information, you alluded to it about, if we could have a common platform, which we have in many respects, but getting that, we have something built into our control system called SIP Energy. So all the products that we manufacture can produce this energy-saving sort of information that you can then use to get a visibility on your plant. And I think that's the first step towards energy saving, being able to measure what you've got, and then you can target key specific areas exactly as you were showing in your presentation.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've done is I've sort of retrofitted some energy meters to some of the machines where it's not possible, and then just slowly worked out what does what, and then how do I improve that? So, I mean, compressor is probably one of the main areas which we're trying to improve upon. Actually, our chiller, which cools the moulds, that was another area. We've just had a variable speed drive fitted to that so that it can sort of bring down the motor being used at full tilt all the time. But now it's sort of the moulding machines, so that's the next step. And as you say, new technology that comes out actually has a lot of power-saving features built in. So I know I bought some sensors a few weeks ago and he went, oh, it's got an eco mode and it'll probably only save you a fraction. But if you scale that up and you've got 100 of those sensors, that tiny little saving is actually quite a big saving across.
It can also justify the return on investment for investments that you make then as well, if you can see that.
Is there any, with implementing some of the things that you've implemented, any detriment to your production speeds at all, just out of curiosity?
No, in fact, I would say the reverse.
Right.
Yeah, we've even found not necessarily running high cavitation can work. So we've done tests where you may have, say, a 4 or 5 6 impression, whatever, and you can run actually cheaper with a single impression in some cases because it never stops. Whereas you may actually, simply speeding it up to then not run at night, for example, is another example where you're using a lot of, you can use a night rate, so therefore you can run at a lower rate on a time when there's less demand as well. So it also helps the grid. So you can balance it out, and I think that's what people have to look at the whole picture, not just isolate it to one aspect. You get another, you were saying with the other savings, with the electric machines, you also don't have the hydraulic pumps running. So the only thing the chiller's cooling is the tools, whereas it used to cool all the hydraulics as well. So there's quite a few hidden savings that people miss.
Would you two have any examples? Sorry.
I was just saying, I think the RoboShot shows you sort of the biggest saving is because there's such a transition from hydraulic and electric. So that's probably why it looks a more sustainable option. It's just because that the old technology, or it's not old, but it's moving to a much more efficient way of doing the same process.
And would either of you two have any examples of customers that get anywhere near what these guys have achieved?
From my point of view, no, that's why they're on stage today. What I would add to kind of what David and Tom have said there is that you start looking at alternative ways to actually run your production. So rather than running a day shift at a certain rate of energy usage, you then automate and actually are able to run a night shift. That night shift might be running effectively free because you're manufacturing product with automation. Yes, you need to commit to the automation, but actually you'll run it at a lower rate of energy. So depending on what the process is and the way in which obviously you've configured that particular cell or process, you may be getting a free shift out of it effectively.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I think it's about scale. I mean, we deal with a lot of big companies, and we've got companies that have implemented things like medium voltage drives on big fans or pumps and things like that, and they are literally saving hundreds of thousands of pounds a month. But it's about scale, and what you're doing is fantastic. I think it's really good to see how you mapped it all out, and you've got that the offset that you've got with your photoelectric cells there. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Probably an opportune time. I don't want to steal your thunder, Lindsay.
You're absolutely fine. Has anyone got any questions in the audience? Yes, we've got a question. I'll just bring the microphone over to you.
Hi. I just wanted to sort of talk about whether you feel currently we're at a bit of a tipping point regarding sort of sustainable manufacturing. It's something that's been talked about as a topic for so many years, but it's really up until now, it's been a carrot rather than a stick in that, you know, it may be good PR, it may be ethically the right thing to do, it may be a nice to have, but there wasn't really such a business imperative. Whereas now, because of the energy costs, it's much more about bottom line. There's also that increased customer demand. There's also the regulatory pushes that you were talking about and the sustainable digital passport, I think that you mentioned, Phil. So it feels like it's much more stick rather than carrot. COP27 starting on Sunday. You know, what do you see on the horizon? Do you feel there's going to be more regulation, there's going to be more of the stick and less of the carrot, and actually this is the tipping point now? Do you get that kind of sense?
From my perspective, absolutely, yeah. I think this is the start of the tipping point. I think what's going on with the energy crisis at the moment is the forerunner, effectively. You know, I think that's the thing that's starting to get everybody's attention now. As you say, you know, previously it was a nice to have, it was good practice, it was something nice to put in your sustainability documentation and things like that. But now it's a real business imperative. And, you know, I got sight of some of the regulations that are being drafted moving forward. And in the next 2-3 years, it is going to be probably, I would say, the main thing on manufacturers' minds moving forward in the next few years, for sure.
Oliver?
No, I completely agree with Phil there. I think, yeah, the carrot hasn't been big enough, which means the stick is what's been driving, obviously, the situation.
The stick's even bigger now.
The stick's even bigger. But certainly the carrot hasn't been there to actually sort of to ensure that when we have those discussions with manufacturers in the early stages about what equipment they're looking for, that they're looking and have got sustainability at the forefront of their mind. Bloom & Box kind of break the mould there slightly in that you have done that, but it's not the norm. I'll be honest, with talking to people, it's more about obviously getting parts out of the door at the lowest possible cost. In all honesty, that's the typical situation.
Probably a good time to. Has anybody in the audience faced any hurdles and obstacles with trying to become more sustainable? Is anybody trying to practice these things at the moment in a big way?
No.
Nope.
All shy.
Okay. Any other? Sorry.
No. Any other questions at all? No? Anything from the panel?
No, not from me.
No.
So.
Not from me. I think it's a fascinating subject and obviously very close to everyone's heart with what's happening at the moment around the world, and really important and a great story to be able to showcase.
I was just about to say that. Maybe we can come out and do a video.
Well, we are just about to do another discussion over there, guys, if you want to join us on the live stream. So.
Okay. Okay, so if you are watching online, that's going to happen. So Bloom & Box are going to go and talk on the podcast. If you are here, lunch will be served at past. Down in the in the showroom at the bottom. However, beforehand, you're more than welcome to go and visit the exhibition as well. Then at 2 o'clock, come back in here and you'll be able to see the Academy's taster session. So basically how FANUC go about their robot training. We're going to be doing that in the far corner over there. So thank you, everybody on the panel. Big round of applause. Enjoy your lunch at 12:30 and enjoy the exhibition. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, what a fantastic presentation. It's been a great morning so far. And I'm joined by Hannah Reardon from Bloom & Box. Welcome.
Hi, yes. I'm excited to be. I've never been on a podcast before.
Well, it was a great presentation that you gave earlier on, and we're looking forward to learn more about Bloom & Box and to discuss this further. Paul's just joined us now. Well done, Paul. It was great
thank you,
to
Gia.
listen to you talking about sustainability. The core of today is about Industry 4.0 and digital transformation within our industry. Paul, what thoughts have you got on this so far? I think David's going to be joining us too. He might just need to take his headphones off, so someone hopefully will help David with that.
I've still got mine on as well. I've got to say, I did listen to your question, Gia, just coming in from that presentation. It is very pertinent to time to be talking about sustainability and what have you, and these guys have got a really fantastic story, which I'm sure we'll go into. Digital Internet of Things, is this what you were talking about? Yeah. I think the monetisation of productivity is so critical, even to the points that the guys were making here about being able to monitor output of equipment, monitor usage of electricity, monitor all of the things that you need to monitor in order to be able to be more efficient. So I think anything digital that can help you with that is got to be, prime place in UK manufacturing, because to compete these days, you've got to be able to be the best at what you do, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, David, I want to bring you in. It was great listening to you,
Thank you very
and
much.
it was great learning about the history of your company. Now, in our industry, obviously, technical advancements have driven a lot of this new technology, and productivity and efficiency is on the tip of everyone's tongue. Can you take us through your business firstly, and tell us what you do and how you've evolved over the years?
So if I start with my father, is probably a good point, because he was originally a pattern maker. And then he became an engineer. And I think the picture that you've seen on the presentation today was actually taken at Car Bodies in Coventry a very, very long time ago. And he was always very forward-thinking. So he would always make. I think they built their first robot in about 1970. Robot's a very loose description of what it was, but it had movable arms, things that did stuff without anyone touching it. So he started off in the plastics industry right at its birth, and then continued all the way through. So I think we have a little bit of an old-fashioned look at things as well. So I like to think that we take all the modern technology, but look at it with some experience from the past, because I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that the people who are inventing the stuff that we're using today invented it from details from the past. So it's always good to look backwards and see what you could have done. And I think the same applies with the environment now, is how do we modify what we're doing instead of just saying, well, that's what we've done for the last 10 years, so we're going to continue. And he gave us that knowledge, and I think probably the courage to do it. As Hannah said, none of it was planned. It's all been completely organic. It's just how it's done.
For people that may not have joined in live and may not have seen your presentation, can you explain what you manufacture and what kind of industries you supply, and how you've and why maybe you've invested in FANUC and become a partner with FANUC in essence?
So product-wise, we on one sense it looks very, very varied. What is the link between them? The reality is they're all plastic injection mouldings, and we tend to look for components that sell well. Between Tom and Hannah, obviously Hannah's very savvy on the internet work. They track what products have been sold around the world by using software, and then we look at variants that we could do of those. We do garden products, so that could be stuff that's wall spikes that sit on your spec. There was actually some on Channel 4 News the other night, if I'm honest. And we sell on eBay and on Amazon. We have an Amazon shop. We can ship sometimes up to, I think Hannah will say, 300 orders a day sometimes, so fairly substantial.
A lot of packing.
So then we take that backwards and we look at how it needs to be shipped, whether we can take the weights down. So that's where the environmental, so how do we don't any longer just look and say it's going to go and sit on a shop shelf. We do everything. We say what could change, and because we do in-house tooling and manufacture, we can make those changes not as quick as we'd like, but quicker maybe than some. We also want to bring manufacturing very firmly back to the UK, so that I'm not suggesting we should make everything in the UK, but we should make an awful lot more than we are doing.
Have you got a lot of competition?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what makes you different? Does what we've been talking about today, does that influence? I mean, you mentioned about there are customers that are looking and almost demanding, in some sense, people become more sustainable. If there's an order to place, Is that in there?
Yeah, it's definitely at the forefront of everyone's minds when they're placing orders. I'd always make the note that just this sustainability isn't something we've just done because everyone else is doing it. It really is at the heart and like our hearts of we want to be better for the planet. So for example, Tom is actually in the factory. Polypropylene, if you buy anything and it's packaged in polypropylene, he grinds it up, puts it in our recycled products, and we reuse it. Just enforcing that factor that it really is completely recyclable. Always, it just takes that person to go, I've got to wash it out and I've got to put it in the recycling. But definitely customers, I managed to get a lot of customers solely on the fact that I can say, you know, we run off solar, we manufacture our products to be lighter in weight, to help less plastic wastage. And because all companies are now beginning to do it, it hasn't been something they've all been asking for from the start. It's like a very recent thing for them, but it's been something that's been going on for a very long time with us.
Do you practice this in your domestic life as well?
Thomas does.
Yeah.
Thomas has friends,
if you
neighbours.
put the thing wrong in the wrong recycling, you will be, who put this in there? Anyone who comes in to work with us, it's a case of it goes in the recycling, and that's what it is. We have, you know, friends, they bring their recycling, and I think it'd be, if people, or if everyone did that, because us reaching, you know, a sustainable world isn't just going to be one person, it's everybody in everyday life going, oh, I'll put that in recycling, I'm not just going to chuck it in the bin because I can't be bothered. You know, it's that sort of process of every single person has to take the initiative to do it.
Are you listening?
I am, and one thing I want to really touch upon, you mentioned in your presentation, David, that you are kind of masters of your own destiny. You practice what you preach, and you invent some of your own products that are actually reusable as well, not just recyclable. This is really important because you're adding value to everything that you manufacture and sell.
Yes, that's true. We've also been working for the last 4.5 years on a biopolymer, which is a polymer that's been out there for quite some time, but it's never been injection molded before. And we're now at the stage where we can mold it, and it will compost at ambient temperatures rather than industrial composting. So it composts in your bin at home. It's food safe. So we're still developing it. There's still a bit of work to do, but it's a bit of a labour of love, I think, would be the best description.
But it is it can
It does
compost.
actually
So
work,
a lot of the
yeah.
products you see that say compostable plastic, it has to be industrially composted. It's not just a case of you can put it in your compost bin, whereas this material actually can be put in your compost bin. So it'd be a really good.
So yes, we do. We look at the whole thing. I mean, not all our materials. So our food safe products have to obviously be food safe, so they're not recycled. But we've just, again, we did this last year when we realised the prices would be going up with material. We halved the weights of all of our products. So again, we try and stay ahead of what we think is coming.
Well, I've got a project I need to talk to you about when we get off air, but before that, why FANUC? Why have you chosen FANUC as your partner? Because you've got lots of choice in the UK and around the world in regards to what technology you use, and it sounds to me like you've heavily invested in FANUC. Why is this predominantly?
I think it's the support they gave us when we were just starting out. We were an insignificant small company with, you know, who knows what prospects we had. But we were treated the same as everybody else, and we got the support, the training. I actually did my training at the old Coventry site many years ago.
I can remember that site.
Yes, okay, so I was there on my first day, very terrified. But they gave us the support, and they were always there. So their products are obviously speak for themselves. And
have you seen the Recycle-I product? The Recycle-I product, that FANUC's project that they were involved in, where you've got the robot that basically comes and picks and visions, a vision system, looks at what the rubbish is, and then it puts it in the right areas, whether it's recyclable or not. Unbelievably clever, incredibly efficient, and just a brilliant project. Bit similar to yours.
Yeah, I have to have a look at that.
Yeah,
Our flower box was built with, so we took the idea of a basically recycled material, which we then coated with an IML. The IML forms part of the product, so you can collapse it and put it together. But the IML was there to cover all of the recycled material, and it's polyprop as well, so you've got a polypropylene recycled base with polypropylene label, a bit like laminating tabletops or something like that. And there was some, we looked at that, it could have been coded again so that you could read it. So that, yeah, I shall be digging out that one.
It's really, really fascinating. I was going to ask you, what's your highlight here that you've seen around? Because we want to encourage people. The show's obviously on today and it's on tomorrow as well.
We haven't seen much yet.
Because you've been sat on there.
Because we've been sat on there. But we will be going down. I did notice that one of our mould tools is actually in one of the machines at the bottom of the factory. So.
Before you go, I just want you to tell our audience what technology have you actually invested in from FANUC? Because it's not just the automation, is it?
No, we've got the new machine, the 150. The RoboShot. We have 3 FANUC 6-axis robots, and we've also just put the Link Eye in as well, which is the monitoring software, and we're currently trying to put a project together to put another 3 RoboShots in.
And my final question really, I know we've got other guests waiting to get on as well, and I'd love to catch up with you later on in the day if that's all right, guys. But my final question is, obviously we're at FANUC and they're well renowned for their automation as well as many other technologies and innovations. But in your opinion, would your business be successful without automation? Could you be
No,
not at all.
Right.
We wouldn't be physically able to work.
You didn't have to even think about that, did you?
It's just not an option.
But the one thing for people like coming here today and seeing this is, I visited, if you've ever been to the K show, and I went there in Germany, and seeing this industry or coming today is what drew me to actually join the family business. It wasn't a case of I was doing it, because this type of industry, there are so many jobs. It's not a case of you're there with the oil and stuff. It's such a vast industry and it's so interesting, and it really should be encouraged to come and just see what there is. It's
completely
so exciting.
Completely agree. We talk about this all the time on MTDCNC.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating, and I think there's still a mentality and a misconception that engineering can be a dirty industry, and it's something that we need to change.
Yeah, because it really isn't.
It's not at all.
No.
Well, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for sparing your time and joining us on this podcast. And like I say, it'd be great to catch up with you shortly later in the day. I've got a serious project for you, to discuss with you, an injection moulding project. So great to see you guys. Thank you. Our next guest is Roberta, and she's from Rockwell Automation. She's the global platform leader for robotics and digital tools. Hi, Roberta.
Hello, Roberta.
Hello.
That blew. Oh, what a story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable story.
It's a great story, and they've got such a great mentality and philosophy around their manufacturing processes. Roberta, absolutely pleasure to meet you, a fellow Italian, I'm glad to say.
I'm outnumbered.
And Paul, you wouldn't believe it, actually. I was at Advanced Engineering yesterday, and I met several Italians that were exhibiting there. So we're doing all right in manufacturing. I'm glad to say.
Just not in football.
No, don't mention the football at the minute.
Thank you for the opportunity, by the way.
It's an absolute pleasure. Roberta, firstly, your colleague was on stage earlier discussing the Internet of Things and Industry 4.0, digital transformations. What does this mean to Rockwell as a business? But before we get into that, can you just give us an indication about what Rockwell do as a business?
Okay, sure. So thank you for the invite, first of all. I'm Roberta Tanzariello, as you said, platform lead for robotics and digital tools at Rockwell Automation. So just to reply to your question, okay, Rockwell is an automation provider, so we are actually spacing from the software up to the hardware, safety capability. So it's really the concept of connected enterprise, right? So really we are following the customer for all the life cycle management, right, of the complete application that can be in every space of industry, right? CPG, automotive, and general industry, and so on. So Phil was providing a deep dive on the opportunities to raise this connected enterprise across the portfolio of the complete capabilities that we are providing to the customer today. And robotics is a big aspect of the complete puzzle, right? So IT, OT, flexible manufacturing solution, connected enterprise for infrastructures, deep dive on sustainability across the industries, right? That's also a market trend that we are quite present also over there. Robotics is a solution, is really touching the concept of flexible manufacturing. ICT with robotics are providing flexibilities and reducing footprint, helping customer on savings, costs, right? So it's a journey, right?
I mean, it's vast, isn't it? I mean, Rockwell as a business is a gigantic corporation around the world, and we had the pleasure to meet your colleagues here last year at the annual FANUC Open House last year, where you were exhibiting some fantastic products that really blew us away. And we've actually got some videos on them products on the MTD CNC website. In regards to the Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, automation, machining, I'm just basing it around our particular industry of CNC machining. How important is all of these technologies to be connected? Because one is only as strong as the other, or one is only as strong as its weakest link.
Yeah, so from a technical standpoint, right, starting from the technical standpoint, so we are building a complete architecture that is giving us the opportunity to have the field data, as Phil was mentioning before, right? So the field data directly with a vertical integration up to the cloud, right? So through layers, having the complete visibility from an analytics standpoint. And this is also quite important for maintenance, right, in the field for people, but also to help our engineering, right, our technical community, our technical people, to deploy application in which data is quite visible and is easy to use and visualize. Remote connectivity, that's also another point to face, and really robotics for Rockwell is a device that is setting in the network, and our technology partners for us are really important. I'm pleased to be here and raise visibility about, you know, the joint architecture and technology as a piece for the connected architecture, and support the customer journey across the complete life cycle.
What are you actually showing here this week? Is there any hardware, software?
Yes, please go. We have a big layout, ICT technology, and our Emulate 3D software. Emulate 3D is our pre-sales tool, is really providing the digital aspect of the ICT, and robotics is also involved in the application. And so through Emulate 3D, we are providing also with FANUC directly the plugin for the RoboGuide, enhancing the experience for our user, right? Having the same user experience as they have, for example, using the controller directly. So,
Roberta, you obviously work with some very large blue chip organizations around the world, and how do you feel about the adoption of automation and Industry 4.0 with the smaller companies? What is the adoption like in Europe and in the UK? Obviously, you deal with a global market.
Yeah.
Where are we? Where are we in the UK, and what do we need to do to improve? Because it's obvious that this is the future, but there's a lot of companies that are still not investing in this technology, or kind of, and they're falling behind.
Yeah, I have to say, talking about Rockwell starting point, so the level of expertise and, you know, technical support that we are providing, generally speaking from the pre-sales stage, is one of our KPI and key aspects, right, as an automation provider. So really we are following the customer from the pre-sales stage, that can be a motion solution consultant or technology consultant, up to the deep dive on specific project with specific people that are addressing the project and the application capability. What can be done for sure is providing and raise visibility about training material, right? In Rockwell we have RIU is our platform to collect data material about technology. We had just last week Rock Live is a huge event that we are providing to all our customer and SIs to have the opportunity opportunity to get in touch with our own technologies, and event like these and spread knowledge through training and possibly joint training with our partners is the key for a success, I think.
So education is certainly still the key.
Yeah.
And in a world where we're continuously evolving, if we go back a year, 2 years, we look at the technology, how it was then and how it is today, it's evolving at such a rate that sometimes it's quite hard to keep up. So education is the key, not just now, but every single day we need to be re-educating ourselves. So we're going to have a new guest on in a minute. I know that you've got to be gone for one, Roberta, but a few more questions really in regards to a digital world that we're living in today. How important is the data that you're talking about to improve manufacturing processes and manufacturing facilities?
Okay, regarding the digital tools, I would like to talk a little bit about Emulate 3D as an example, just to make a concrete example and explain a possible use case, right? And how this digital world is actually, digital thread is actually helping a lot our technical community, our sales team to deploy application before the real deployment, right? The real startup of the machine as a proof of concept. So the digital thread right now is ensuring a direct communication with the customer, deploying the proof of concept before, but also from a technical standpoint, through Emulate 3D, for example, that is our single simulation software, right? For ICT, we have a proper catalog to drag and drop pieces, right, in the scene. We are building also, we are starting up to build the same for robotics. The usage of the library is really is a milestone, because the library is the process and deployment of the application starting from Emulate 3D is continually going through the library that is deploying ready-made code, right, through ACDN for Logix Designer, so in our own software portfolio, and faceplate directly for robotics. So in order to deploy teaching capabilities, with FANUC we have an AOI library dedicated, custom add-on profile. So all the technology starting from Emulate 3D, like, is really a continuous flow that is providing support to our technical community to deploy the configuration and not applying, let's say, code programming on top of that, right? It's really easy to use and modular, scalable, so the application can be really scalable, starting from the concrete library and handler for ICT. You can build your piece and then scale this solution according to the
very modular, very modular.
Yes.
Roberta, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think one final question. I know we've got a guest waiting to get on, but one final question that I haven't touched upon yet. Why is it so important to have a relationship with FANUC? I mean, you're both very large corporate automation companies. How does the synergy work?
Yes, so talking about robotics in Rockwell, so actually we are integrating robots in two ways. The first one is through Ethernet TP, and FANUC is one of our partners to deploy really application through Ethernet TP, connecting directly our own PLC to the robot controller, right? And we have as a second option the unified robot control. In that case, we are the owner, the customer is the complete owner of the motion, of the safety. But regarding FANUC, why this partnership is very important? Because together we can achieve deep application like the automotive one, in which, for example, advanced safety capability are needed, DCS functionality. So the user is really having the best technologies on the robot side, but hopefully having these directly linked in the machine network, having together the best provider, right, in terms of robotics capabilities, but also as automation supplier for the complete line.
Roberta, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
think that's one thing I really love about FANUC, Paul. They work with so many different partners, system partners, to give their clients the very best results. Sorry. Thank you. Now our next guest is Paul Richards. Paul, great presentation. I really enjoyed it, and you addressed some points about cobots that I think really did need addressing. There's still out in the marketplace a big misconception about the differences between industrial robots and cobots, and you know, and a lot of the time, maybe in some circumstances, clients may be buying a cobot just because of the cost, but it not necessarily being right for the application. And I really enjoyed your presentation, Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one thing that I didn't touch on in the presentation is that there is also a misconception out there that a cobot is cheaper than an industrial robot. And it actually isn't. I mean, there's a lot more technology in a cobot than an industrial robot because of the safety features that are integral to the design of the robot to make it safe. Overall, the cost can be lower than an industrial robot because you don't need interlocking, you don't need the guarding, you don't necessarily need a control system to control everything else. It's a lot simpler system. So overall for the customer it can be low cost, but the actual robot itself is not actually. You know, and the same with the gripper.
Well, I had in my mind, wrongly or wrongly, that it was actually cheaper, but I 100%.
There are.
I know it depends on
there are robots out there, cobots out there that are very cheap, but you have to look at what you're getting, how safe are, how many sensors in the joints are there. You know, what's the backup, what's the life of the product. So yeah, you can get very low cost ones, but they're not industrial. They're not industrial solutions.
I mean,
really.
the considerations that you touched upon, I want to get into that shortly. When choosing an industrial robot or a cobot, it's very interesting. And I've through my own experience of being out in the field, where I've spoke to end users that are looking to get into automation. They've gone down the wrong route to start with, so maybe they needed an industrial robot in some circumstances or vice versa, but they've chose the wrong one because of price. So they've tried to dip into automation based on cost, and then obviously it's backfired because they've had the wrong solution for the application, and then it's not gone anywhere, and they've not then further invested. And it is, we just spoke to Roberta, events like this are fantastic because it's all about education, isn't it? And it's about kind of installing confidence and educating the end users into them, you know, investing in the right solution for their application so they can get a good return of investment.
You're exactly right. And I think if you look in the showroom, in the corner, Cobot Corner, whatever they want to call it. Cobot Corner, the code name for it, you'll see an industrial robot there that's not guarded. And it's using floor scanners, and it's using what we call DCS, dual check safety software, which is also an integral part of the
that's
of
fully
the cobots as well.
To regulations.
Absolutely, to the highest standard of the safety standards, But it's an industrial robot, so yeah, I'm happy because my responsibility is to increase the size of cobot. But it's not always the right thing, and I think sometimes if the supplier doesn't have any alternative, what are they going to sell? You know, if all I have to sell are these plastic cups, then I'm going to try and sell you a plastic cup. If you want a mug, sorry, I have a plastic cup. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%,
so it's a matter that with a company like FANUC, you have that sort of confidence that if it's right for an industrial robot, or even sort of a hybrid, if you want to call it that, with the safety scanners and the dual check safety, then it's there, you know.
What's changed recently in cobots? We've been talking about cobots and how flexible they are and how easy they are to install and all those sorts of things. But how are they evolving?
What are the trends?
How are they getting better and more, you know, amenable to manufacturing?
It's kind of a strange one, really, because FANUC started life in the cobot world with a CR35, 35 kilogram payload, and it's still the highest payload cobot, the proper cobot that's out there. But the market kind of wasn't ready for that. You know, we're now moving to we've got the CRX25, which has brought out 25 kilogram payload robot, absolutely ideal with the reach and the payload for palletizing.
You know, so we're seeing that now, and with our from our competitors in the general cobot world, is that the cobots are getting bigger. And when you think about it, you know, before we had this sort of payload and reach, we're putting, you can see outside as well, robots on a lift, because they don't really have that design of the reach which is required for palletising of a certain height, a certain size of pallet. So that's one thing. The other thing that's as well is a trend as well is easy programming. You know, there's the programming has to get easier and easier, where people can pick up on the programming very simply.
The teaching.
The teaching and the learning. And
iPad, touch screen.
I think that leads us on nicely, really, to the 7 points of consideration when choosing a cobot that you were discussing. I thought it was really pertinent to the conversation and to the presentation. I think that the 7 points, I think that they're environment, payload, reach, like you mentioned, ease of programming. These are connectivity. And you also mentioned offline programming as well, because obviously you're looking to automate a process. You don't really want to have an operator standing at the machine whilst the machine's down or the robot's down and to program. So if you could just talk us through these 7 points, I thought they were really interesting. And
Yeah, so the kind of point I was trying to make with this was if you're an end customer, we talk about the payload of the robot, and it's a little bit more than just what the part is that you're picking up, and also the way that part is, and the gripper or the end effect or whatever it is that you put on the end of the robot, where it sits on the end of that robot wrist. We like to make this very clear. In my experience, we had a customer, a FANUC customer, an end customer that was buying robots from us, bought a 10-kilogram payload robot from us to pick up a layer sheet, piece of paper, piece of card, grams, just grams in weight. But his gripper was about 1.2 metres large in length. So the moments of inertia on that, even though the total payload of the gripper and the layer sheet and everything was on a 10-kilogram payload robot was something like 4 kilograms. It was way out of specification because of this effect. Something that really needs to be taken into account. And not everybody does this. Not all manufacturers do it. The responsible ones do. They make you aware of it, and there's a calculation there. Again, reach is a matter of a working envelope of a sphere, and you can work within that sphere. Sometimes the cobot's got around about 360 degrees rotation, but where are you going to work within that sphere? Because obviously, as it's a sphere, if you want to go right to the top, you might be out of the working range of the robot. Connectivity is another thing. To get a robot set up and do a simple pick and place with no real connectivity other than a gripper is really very, very quick and simple. In most cases, we've got companies like Shunk, On Robots, Schmaltz. They all have plugins to go onto the TP tablet that is loaded in there, so you can control the gripper through there. That's great, and it's nice and simple. But if you have to connect to a CNC machine through Profinet or Ethernet IP or something like that, that's generally going to be out of the range of somebody who's an end customer buying a cobot for the first, or any robot for the first time. You really need help for that, and you're not going to be up and running in 30 minutes on that, because it does take time to set that up. So consideration needs to be taken into account with the application. What are you going to communicate to? Most times, keep it simple. You can use internet. You can use digital I/O. The CRX comes with 16 and 20 in-outs, and also safety inputs as well. So that's keep it simple if you can, and do it that way. If not, you need a field bus. You need some help with that, really, because it's not an end user simple thing to set up and
how have you found the adoption of cobots in recent years? Have you seen a trend, an uptrend in sales?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we only started with 2 in the range, really, with the CRX, which has really started to take off. And yeah, there's been a clear, upward trend on this. Now we see, because earlier in the year we released the 5 and the 25. The 25 is proving to be very, very popular, particularly palletising. Talking to one of our subsidiaries last night, who's just won an order for 8 cobots and potential for 30, 40, because those palletising lines, there's always multiples of them, particularly in the food industry.
I think in our opinion, we've been discussing automation since I started at MTD, Paul, and we were banging the drum from a long time ago, and I think COVID accelerated the need for automation. People seeing that it was a necessity, not a nicety. We've just spoke to Bloom in Box, and they said that their business would not be successful without automation. There's still people now that have not automated that need to automate. This is a necessity, isn't it, Paul? And how should kind of people get in touch that have not been able to find the time to visit you today?
Yeah,
maybe if they automated, they might have found the time.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, get in touch with somebody from FANUC. They can, free of charge, they'll come and have a look, and they'll tell you whether the application is right for a cobot or not. Cobots are a great way of starting off in that automation journey. You know, it's simple. People can get their heads around it. They can understand it, and they get some sort of control of it. Which, you know, particularly engineers, they really like that, to be able to see and understand how the thing is working. There's not this big mystical box, and there's a button that says start and stop and go back to a home position, something. But they can get really involved.
And you've got your training centre here as well.
Yeah, there's a
so
training centre
anyone
here.
that's not invested in automation yet, you know, it's all here.
This is fabulous here. We actually. Yesterday we filmed, because as part of this open house event, which I have to reiterate is on today and tomorrow, you need to come here to Anstey Park if you want to see, talk to guys like Paul about cobots and robots, but actually see everything in action here. 40 exhibitors, incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, just coming back to your training school here, yesterday we filmed a session where they were walking to youngsters through how easy it was to get used to and get to grips with automation.
Yeah.
I think it's the only way to do it, to show people.
Yeah. And they can do it. And FANUC have made a big investment into education as well, with education cells that we're selling with standard industrial robots and cobots as well to the schools and universities. We're involved with the World Skills Organisation. You know, so we're doing what we can. As I think you heard as well, the position that we got to sponsor from Tom.
Have you seen the? I know this might not be the specific robots we're talking about, but the table football.
Not yet.
Worth coming here to see that. It's unbeatable, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't beat it, can you? It's just so
even
quick.
if you're Italian.
Stop mentioning the football. They're not qualified for the World Cup, and it's very disheartening. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It is really nice to see now that when people are choosing or looking for a new machine tool, they're actually considering automation now, and maybe in the past this was something that they never did. They are really considering automation with every new purchase that they make, which is fantastic.
And the cobot is a great starting point. It's a really entry level for customers, you know, for end customers. So, but come and talk to us.
It's not a gimmick. You need automation now.
Yeah.
You need automation.
You saw the figures.
Yeah, 100%. It's you know, people need to invest in automation. Paul, thank you very much.
No problem. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We've got another guest that's going to join us now. Zakek. Please come and join us on the set now. Paul, that was a brilliant discussion there about cobots, industrial robots, any type of automation really. It's something that is the future. We've said it for a long time and people have started to listen.
We're going in companies now where 5 years ago they'd never have even thought about it, but they have, and they've implemented it and they've seen a benefit from it. Yeah. So it's a must look at.
Welcome to the podcast. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Sure. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Jacek Urbanovic. I'm a European IoT product manager. So my responsibility is IoT products and solutions of FANUC.
It's worth saying at this point, because there will be people watching that it might just be new to manufacturing. What is IoT in a roundabout way?
Yeah, I try to explain this during my presentation.
Which is actually on YouTube or on whichever platform you're watching this on, if you go back, because we've been streaming all day, but sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but in the short and simple words, IoT is about collection data from the machine tools, from the robots, from any kind of automation, processing those data, making the visualization, to give more insights to the decision makers, to the managers, to the maintenance teams.
So creating a connected factory, if you like, with Industry 4.0, remote access, automation, machine tools, and then analysing that data in a simple way that you can then improve your manufacturing process. This is the key, isn't it? So continuous improvement to a certain degree.
Exactly. And important is to not only collect data, but to change data into the useful information to implement some improvements. Important factor is also a role of the worker, of the staff, because usually IoT systems can provide you some data if you know what to look at, but there is usually some action required. So IoT maybe is able to highlight some issues, some problems, but after that there is required some human action to improve the situation.
So when you say problems and issues, it's mainly inefficiencies, isn't it, or machine downtime, or is it a way to improve productivity and efficiency using this data?
You could use data to improve different areas. Productivity and efficiency is one and quite obvious area. Another one is process quality improvement. We have great tools such as ZDT software to monitor process parameters for arc welding or spot welding, or IR vision, which is a vision system made by FANUC. So ZDT software collects all the process data, like arc welding current, wire feed speed, how much heat was introduced into each part. So our customers are using those data for traceability of the production. So each part is uniquely recorded into that database.
And you mentioned as well mechanical health.
Yeah.
And I think that is a nice terminology that I'd never heard of before.
Yeah, it's like human health, and robots has also its own health.
The point you talk about monetization is often pigeonholed into some of the things that we often look at about speed, output, and things like that, measuring those things. But in amongst those things, there are other factors that, like I think you've mentioned, process reliability, wear of the equipment around it. You know, maybe sometimes slowing things down will give you a longer life, which will mean you're actually getting better value out of certain things. So it's a really big conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah. With the IoT gives a great tool, to introduce new types of automation. So interesting example is usage of the photovoltaics energy. So electrical energy made by based on the sunlight. So one of the use cases is that IoT can monitor what's the current production of the electrical energy based on the photovoltaics, and adjust, let's say, override or production throughput according to the currently available energy. And it's the target could be to minimize the CO2 emission and use as much as possible green energy.
We've discussed net zero and sustainability in the presentations. This is a really important factor and part of this discussion. And what I've seen out in the field is that the adoption of this type of technology is being adopted by the big blue chip companies, the large organisations that see the benefits, long-term benefits in this technology, but not necessarily being invested in yet from the smaller companies. How can we overcome this, and why should they also invest? It's not just a solution for the larger companies, it's a solution for all manufacturing establishments.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. FANUC IoT solutions there could be really easily implemented on the production line. They are also quite affordable. So there are some IoT products of FANUC which I never heard any complaint of the customer regarding price, but I almost always hear only about the benefits. What was the outcome after introduction of specific IoT product? So yeah, it's that easy just to collect the feedback from the customer after, let's say, 6 months or year after the IoT introduction. Usually, always 100% positive comments.
Does a customer need to have invested in FANUC products to become a customer of IoT?
Our IoT is agnostic regarding the vendor of the automation. However, for FANUC machines or FANUC robot, there are always some more functions. So if you have FANUC products, there will be some extra function which will help you to use or to better understand a FANUC product.
And ultimately, what you're saying is the benefits will result in reduced cost per part. Is the end game is increasing profit margins and reducing cost per part?
Exactly. Yeah. So another area which I didn't mention where IoT could be utilized, where machine data could be utilized, is to lower the cost of the production. So based on the information from our IoT, the customer can extend the lifetime of tools, of the machine tools, or maybe increase the lifetime of the spot welding cups, for instance.
It's a good point, Paul, and I think that everyone is looking to become more efficient and more profitable to compete not just in the UK but globally.
Still, the adoption isn't quite as great as it should be. You can invest a lot of money in plant, technology, equipment, but if you don't measure and see what you're getting out of it to get the best out of it, it can be, the wrong thing to do.
Absolutely, and we've always said at MTD, we look at lots of different products and solutions and technologies on a daily basis. We're very privileged to be in this position, and what we've seen is that a lot of the efficiency gains now are coming through digitalisation and software rather than mechanical advancements in a product, because the products can only be advanced mechanically to a certain degree. I think we're nearly at the peak of where we can be from a mechanical perspective or a design perspective. I know additive manufacturing is changing that slightly now, bringing that into the mix, but the main advancements now are coming from a digital and a software perspective. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, completely. I agree with that. Let's take FANUC robots. We developed our robots many years ago, in the 70s. So since that time, robots advance significantly mechanically, but IoT, how to process the data, how to use production data efficiently, it's something new. So by the digitalization, by IoT, we are opening new doors of increasing efficiency, of potential improvements.
Yeah, we've touched on some fantastic subjects today, Paul, and it's been a pleasure to have you on our podcast and for our audience to kind of, so we could deep dive into your specialities even further, but no, thank you, Paul.
You hooked up to the
Great.
It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure to be here.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jack.
So there's still more discussions to be had here at FANUC Live today, so please stay tuned. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah,
thank you.
We've got, I believe, a tour of the facility happening at some point very shortly. Also some robo-drill demonstration where you'll be able to see chips flying. And of course, if you want to catch up on everything that's happened, not just today, but yesterday as well, you can find all of the streams, all of the activity on our YouTube channel, on our app, on our MTD CNC website. And of course, the show doesn't end now or even at the end of today. It's on tomorrow as well, on Friday, here in Coventry in Anstey Park, where there's 40 exhibitors, would you believe, showcasing and showing off their hardware with their automation, their machine tools, machine tending, all aspects of UK manufacturing and automation and efficiency.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, G-Man.
We are now live. Now, the joy of going live is we were told they were doing a podcast, and what happened was they told us Gio was going to finish his podcast, and that was half an hour ago. Half an hour we've been waiting with this massive grin. Anyway, the joys of live streaming. Where are we?
We are at the FANUC Open House in Anstey, Coventry.
Right, I'm doing the questioning. But you need to get down here, not only for the fantastic lunch, but we'll tell you about that in a little while, but about all these fantastic different exhibitors. And FANUC, as we all know, robots, plus lots more. Oh, we'll get a look. It looks like closing time. Now, this gentleman has been prepped, I think. Now, this gentleman is from Call Me Einstein. You are from the Zimmer Group.
Zimmer Group, yes.
Tell me, I've got lots of stuff going on here. Two things an engineer is going to look at and go, blimey, or wow, or even something, or no swearing.
Well, one of the things we're most known for are grippers, industrial grippers and collaborative grippers. We do little bits then. One of the newer parts we brought in is our zero clamp system, so we can integrate the zero clamp with some of the grippers for machine tending.
There you go, nice and simple. Now, cobots. Now, I'm sure I recognise you.
I was here last year. Yeah.
And this, so you nearly took some of the digit off last year.
Luckily, it can't do. It's a collaborative. It's limited as far as the strength it will go to.
There you go. So put your finger in there. You're not going to lose a digit. Chloe, do you have anything to add? Anything to ask this gentleman?
No, not really. I think you'd come here last year. What's the difference between last year and this year that you've seen?
We've seen a lot more focused people visiting and a lot more potential projects coming through.
So that's great for
it's
you
great for
to
ourselves,
be able to get those.
It's great
contacts.
for FANUC as well.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you.
It's going to be a very bad gag. You said focus, as in folk music, or
no, not quite.
Right, I'm doing the gag. Anyway, let's move on. These gentlemen, thank you very much. I do apologise for that very poor gag. These gentlemen, look at this. There's mild panic in the room. Now, these guys, again, we recognise you. Look, he's got a live test. Gentleman from Schmaltz, what on earth are you doing?
So here I'm demonstrating the cobot pump. So this is a device used on collaborative robots, electronic vacuum generation system. So no compressed air, no cables, no leads or anything.
Turn it off and I'll catch it.
Yep.
Oh, these are there you go. Look at that. We practiced that earlier, and I've broken 3 mugs today. So the system does work well.
One more than those. So yeah. So the cobot pump now, it's IO-Link ready, so this is all Industry 4.0 ready to go.
When you say IO-Link, so wireless?
Yep, not wireless, but it's IO-Link, so you get real-time feedback of the vacuum generation system. I don't know if this is visible to see.
We're live here, Andy. We need to work the cameraman. He's new to the job, our cameraman. So if it's out of focus, it's not me.
So we can get a visual representation of the vacuum as it works. So the display is now showing you the higher level vacuum that we've achieved.
Now, can we do that again, please, just for our audience and our cameraman?
Yep. So you can see now what we're doing is we're turning the vacuum on, gripping the vacuum cup, and we're reaching a higher level of preset vacuum. When the preset vacuum level is reached, the pump is switched off. I don't know if it's being picked up on the sound, but now we're regulating the energy consumption by having no energy consumption at all.
So eco-efficient.
So the pump is turned off, yep, so we're totally energy efficient.
That's what we want to hear these days.
Problems, yeah. So it's a perfect solution for collaborative applications, on airtight solutions, pick and place applications. Whole wealth of applications available from this product.
Andy, there you go. That's your 30 seconds of fame. I think you've had about 2 minutes. And we're going to see one of your other products in a minute, because I'm feeling a little bit thirsty, Chloe. What do you reckon?
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we've got a demonstration down there using.
Don't give it all away. Don't give it all away.
Which we are going to show you, and it's not just one demonstration. There's a few that we've got this concept on. Thank you very much,
gentlemen.
Guys.
Thank you very much. Next stand. Now this gentleman is prepared. You've how you've changed. Now this has put us completely. Chloe, you go and ask this gentleman because it's changed completely. I can see some lunch coming on though. Go on.
Yes. So what are you showcasing here at the FANUC Open House?
So we are on Robot. We are a Danish company, and we specialize in end-of-arm tooling. So you think of any application, end-of-arm tooling becomes an important part. Be it any gripper or anything got to do with machining, sanding, screw driving, we have it all. So
what makes your processes and your items different to anybody else?
So it's completely electric, and you get it all in one shop. So we have everything here. You think of any application, you can find everything here.
I just want to clarify as well, I'm not trying to hit this guy with a microphone, but I've been told in my ear that it's got to be super close. And I think, any chance we can get this? This is the gentleman we're supposed to be interviewing. He's hiding behind. That's not fair. But I've got a question. What happens? I can see my lunch here. It's an apple. I've got a banana tomorrow. Is it easy to change over?
Yes, it is.
Just the answer. Anything else you want to ask, Chloe?
We were talking earlier about you having a new product. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So we will be having a deploy coming in, because the most important challenges in automation is how to program and how to have the application knowledge.
Okay.
So deploy will be the automated application programming, which will help you to eliminate the programming steps as well as the route planning, and that works with all 14 robot brands.
Fantastic.
In the first stage,
I'm just going to stop you there. What we're going to do is we're going to go like that, and then we're going to go like that.
Okay.
Because we're live.
So in the first step, it will cover palletizing, machine tending, pick and place and transferring, and it will have 8 robot brands, and it will be the best thing what automation world can happen, because it empowers the customer to do whatever they want. Because in Europe you have low volume, high mix, so it is always challenges how you can justify the return on investment.
So it's not just about big batch runs?
No, it can also handle low volume, high mix.
Perfect. Anything else you want to ask, Chloe?
No, I think
also handle your, this one is also able to handle your croissants and cakes. So if the lady is on cakes and pastries, and it is FDI compliant, so if we have any borders in the house, it can take care.
So other pastries are available though?
We'll get it.
Excellent, gentlemen. Thank you very much, and thank you for causing mild panic, because the gentleman we were going to interview turned up. Was he late? Now this gentleman has got a customer, so we won't. And these gentlemen aren't here.
I think they've gone for lunch.
Look at that. The wonders of modern technology, they have gone for lunch. But Yukna, and you're going to have to excuse my pronunciation, but being the consummate professionals, we prepared earlier, because as you can see, loads and loads of notes, if our cameraman can get that. But Chloe, what does this do?
So this is like a safety integrated system. So they are a leading global specialist in industrial engineering, safety in engineering. So lots of things go wrong in engineering, which sometimes are out of our control, sometimes are human error. And this company are trying to remove that, really. So
They're not trying, they're succeeding.
Sorry, they're succeeding in it. So, like, as you can see, we've got these guard doors which don't open unless you press a button and open. See, I can't get into it because I haven't been trained on how to use it. But obviously there's so many systems that can be integrated, and they're for every single company. So it's not just a niche market, it's available to everybody.
Now, I was told off earlier because I said this is protecting against idiots. Is that fair or is that better?
Engineers aren't idiots.
Oh, okay.
They're very clever people in a certain sector, but I see where you're coming from. There's always human error, and sometimes you might look back at it and think, oh God, that was stupid, but this prevents stupidness. Is that what we can say?
I think we can say that. Now, I need a shake from the cameraman. Can we move on? We can move on. How's that? Because we're testing at Liam, because look at it. Oh, and not only that, this next stand was empty, but this gentleman has just arrived. So here he is. He's hiding behind us. I want to know what these guys do, because I'm thinking robot arms, there's cables everywhere.
Yeah, so I can kind of go into a little bit of this.
You don't need to. This gentleman is going to be quizzed.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, what does this do in very simple terms? Because I, as we all know, are a very simple man.
So it's the first fully wireless solution for communicating I/O. So
I'll just stop you there, Chloe. You need to get your mic in there, please, so I can work my own mic. There. Ooh. Right up there you go. Okay. How's that? It's not doing karaoke. So, I/O robot arms, what do you mean by that?
So, ultimately, this was designed for robot arms. You have a communications cable running up a robot arm. What this will do is enable you to remove that so you never have any downtime. So, for an end user, it means less downtime, more production.
I think, because these machines, I mean, we all know automation, running 24/7.
Yep.
That's what we want. So how many? They've got 3 cables at the moment on a robot arm.
Correct.
And this takes away one of them, essentially.
Yes, so it removes the comms cable, which is commonly the one that you'll see that fails.
Right. And why does it fail?
Was it fail? Twisting, turning, cables rubbing together, and ultimately you'll end up with a failure through the cable snapping or tearing or cores becoming weird.
Right, so in a nutshell, you want to run 24/7, 7 days a week. I've got to do all the maths here, 52 weeks a year. This will enable you to do that.
Correct.
There you go.
Exactly.
I should be selling these things, right? Thank you very much. I think everybody we told said we're going to be at the stand. They've all disappeared. So thank you very much.
No problem.
Matthew Heather from SMC. Now, can you? I know it looked like you loved a bit of karaoke there. Can you hand that back, please?
Thank you very much.
Wow, some people. Thank you very much. We're going to move on and look at some robot technology.
Look at all
There's Andy in the
this down
background.
here.
Could wave at Andy. He's busy by the coffee machine. How you doing? He's not going to go on camera. Why not? Right.
Okay, so
talk me
we've got
through
1,
what's
2,
going on here.
3, 4, 5 robots here, and we're going to go through
Chloe has just
each
passed
of them.
her
Sorry,
first test of the day. How many robots are there?
5.
What's it doing?
Okay, so this one here, they're all for different industries. This one is paint spray. So as you can see, we've got some car body parts on there, and it's going to be...
What sort of car do you drive? That looks more like a motorbike to me.
Oh, well, it's a part, isn't it?
What did you just mouth there?
It's a part, isn't it? And this robot can be used as scanning as well. So as you can see, it's got a laser on the front, and what it's going to be doing is it's going to be scanning this part to make sure that all the dimensions are correct. It's been spray painted, so that might deflect any measurements on there. So it's a great way of checking all your finished products.
All your car petrol tanks?
Anything. Anything.
God, don't off camera.
It could be anything.
Just clarify. Chloe is rolling her eyes at me. Yeah. I'm only joking, Chloe. You know that.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, she said through gritted teeth.
Okay,
now the next one. I want to know what this. Can we call them guys or people or persons?
It's a robot.
Gender neutral.
Gender neutral snowman.
I'm sorry.
So
what are they doing?
Okay, so as you can see, it's pinching this. I don't know what material it is. It looks like aluminium part going all the way down. So as you can see, it's crimping, going down all the way.
I think we need to keep going down and down and down. Only because our poor cameraman is squatting down there and he's starting to feel the burn.
So come this side. You can see it nicely from this angle. So basically, here FANUC are showing the different concepts that you can put your robots into. So
any application,
any industry, no part can be bigger or smaller. It can basically, don't want to say this, but it can do everything.
It could do, well, I like to say any part can be bigger or smaller. I don't want to showboat here, but I was at IMTS recently in Chicago with the MTD team.
Yeah.
Still angry at home. We didn't leave Chloe behind on purpose.
I wasn't going.
No, she wasn't invited. Don't tell her that. But they had from memory, a big red Corvette. Is there a song about that?
Little red Corvette.
Little red. Oh, it was a big red Corvette.
Yeah,
anyway, moving on. Come on, that's my bad.
Okay, so this one
What's
here,
this?
we've got two robots working in unison. So one of them is holding the part, obviously the bigger one. The other one is welding. As you can see, this FANUC robot can orientate into I don't know how, probably millions of destinations in the axis. So this welding component is easily free to move about and be able to weld in awkward positions that if you had it on a vice or some work holding...
Can we just get the cameraman around here? We can actually see. It's not welding, but it's just...
No, it's not welding actually, but it would be. This is what it's showcasing. But it means you can get into different places where if you're putting it on work holding or on a fixture, see how it can move into different, and they're working in unison as well.
You're not. I wasn't concentrating there so much on you, Chloe, because I was actually mesmerised. The actual fact the two robots are working, dancing. Are you asking?
No, I've seen your dancing.
I'll do the gags. Oh wow, that's a bit harsh. Right, Chloe, another body, another car part. Is that?
I presume no. That looks like a motorbike part, doesn't it? So on this one here.
Oh no, filming in the background, please.
We're polishing. So we're polishing this automobile part, shall we call it?
What sort of car is it off? Motorbike, it's motorbike.
So we can come around this way as well, Leon, so you can see it from this side. So
just to clarify, people, Liam is a cameraman, I am Colin, presenter?
Yes, I think so. So it's polishing. So FANUC are just showing you every capability of these robots. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. And any industry, any company are able to use these. And once you step into automation, you never look back.
There you go, right? And it's got to be the way to go to make you more competitive, absolutely. But I mean, you've got different, you can do deburring, washing, any process really. Loading machine, anything's possible. All I would say is get in contact with the guys at FANUC. Now, I got told off because I stepped in there.
Oh yeah, just watch your feet, guys.
Yeah, it's because I've got massive feet. Don't say a word, Chloe, don't say a word. What's going on here?
I don't. So it looks like what we're doing is we're laser etching on this component. So as you can see, we've got a circular movement, we've got some zigzags, and as you can see, it's orientating around the part. Yeah. So just another industry that these robots can be worked into.
So sorry, it's scanning at the moment.
It's scanning, but it looks like it was laser etching, or it might be even.
Don't go past that.
It might be additive manufacturing. I'm not too sure.
We are not actually sure on that one. We'll come back to you with that. Now, next one. Even I can get this one. Are you ready?
You go for this one.
Okay. Now this is super complex. This is a really, really difficult one. This cobot, I'm going to call it a cobot, is Picking up boxes. There you go. How's that for technical?
Picking up boxes.
There's a gentleman in the background watching with absolute awe at my technical knowledge and expertise.
Just what it says on the box.
Yeah, there you go. No, he just looked. He just walked away. So there you go. Poetry in motion. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And it's got the on-robot suckers.
This is using the on-robot that we spoke to earlier, and also the grippers that we were talking with those chaps earlier as well. So obviously the partners are really special to FANUC, and we're using them in every detail at this open house.
Okay, next one. We're going to clobber this gentleman. Now, I don't know if he's with a customer, but it's tough. We've just ruined a sale. We've teed him up earlier. There we go. Clive?
Clive.
Now, I'm going to interview, interrogate, ask a question. Clive,
okay.
What is going on here, please?
Okay, well, we're carrying out the final quality checks on the steering wheel. So we're using a laser triangulation sensor that's been integrated with the robot. The triangulation sensor is measuring what we term gap and flush. So, for example, it will be looking at the...
I'm going to just stop you there very quick. Can you get the mic really close, please? Because people are watching and they want to hear what you've got to say, and they want to learn all about this brand, their new steering wheel.
Okay, all right, no, understood.
Please.
All right, so to say, what we're doing is final quality checks. We're doing a type of measurement called gap and flush. So, for example, on the buttons on the steering wheel...
We need to get our cameraman. Come on, cameraman. We need to work him a little bit.
Okay, so on these buttons, you'll see we have a gap between the two there and another gap there. What the auto manufacturer wants is when you sit in your shiny new motor vehicle, you're going to look at it and everything is going to look top quality. What they don't want you to see is any deviations in those gaps, anything that gives you the impression of low quality.
Yeah,
so
like my real leather, I want that stitched to perfection.
So we can measure things like this, the groove between the leather there, and make sure that's consistent. We can measure that, we can check that this airbag unit is centrally located in the centre of the wheel.
Okay.
So it's all about perceived quality, making the wheel look as good as possible.
Absolutely. Now, cobot, so if I touch it, it's going to stop?
I'm sorry?
This is a cobot, so if I touch it, I just want to clarify before I touch it.
Yes, yeah, this is a cobot, so it doesn't need any safety devices around it.
Excellent, so there you go, stop it.
Yep. So
that's broken the whole demonstration, sorry about that.
So that one else, but that's absolutely fine.
Brilliant, so I'll get in my car and it's all looking perfect, so the tens of thousands of pounds, tens, not hundreds of thousands of pounds, I reiterate, because I haven't got a posh car, it all looks absolutely perfect thanks to your robot and your scanning device.
Absolutely, that's right.
Nice and simple, there you go.
This technique is applied to the bodywork as well, so whether it's body in white or the finished vehicle, we'll be looking at panel gap and flush, for
So it goes to all sorts of different applications?
Absolutely. So
just automotive?
No, 60% of our business is aerospace. So it could be aerostructures, where we could be looking again panel gap and flush again, but we could also be looking at edge features. So it might be features on turbine blades, for example.
So I'm thinking this will go super accurate. And micron tolerances.
Yes, we have different sensors available. The sensor on here is what we call a T60. That's got a 60mm field of view and will measure to an accuracy of around about 25 microns. If you can live with a smaller field of view, we could use something like our new T15 sensor, and that's going to give you an accuracy down to about 5 microns. So pretty precise measurements for this kind of application.
How was it done before?
Hand gauges, little plastic wedges or feeler gauges and this sort of thing. So very monotonous, very tedious and prone to operator error.
So you're getting someone out of doing that role and doing something far more interesting.
Exactly, absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. That is a fantastic bit of technology. Could you hand your microphone back to Chloe, please? And thank you very much. We're going to move on to next. Now
I'm very thirsty.
Oh yeah? I'll tell you what, there's something I prepared earlier. Come on, Chloe. Can I get you...
Go on.
I think we need to get the cameraman over here. Can I offer you a Diet Coke, a Sprite or a Fanta?
I'll go for a Fanta, fruity
Let
Fanta.
me get this for you, Chloe.
Okay.
There we go. I did ask FANUC if they could load up a couple of beers for us. There might be a surprise in this fridge, who knows. So what we've got here is, we were talking to the guys earlier, obviously a cobot. I'll try not to break it.
It's opening the door.
Hold on. Opening the fridge. Poetry in motion. And there we have a selection. I asked for beer and or gin and tonic.
Nah, it's not 5 o'clock yet.
It's gone 12 o'clock. Anyway, just to clarify, what did you order?
A Fanta.
Okay.
Oh, 1 second.
Oh, no, I thought it'd stop for a second.
It's a cobot, remember?
And how's it picking it up?
Suction.
Oh, so from one of those grippers from the on-robot guys?
Yes, that's right. There we go.
There you go. So, Chloe, like any good barman, Here's one I ordered for you earlier.
Thank you very much.
It is, just to clarify, it is the right drink?
Yeah, and it's 0 sugar, so that's
There you
great.
go, absolutely beautiful.
And it's shutting the door as well. So it does everything.
Oh.
We need one of these in the office.
No, we've got Jake to do that when he's not doing the camera. Is that
Okay,
all right, Jake?
yep.
Give us a shake. You're not Jake, you're Liam. I do apologise. I don't know who they are, honestly. Right, moving on.
So this one's stopped at the minute, so I presume somebody's walked into the area.
Well, I'm thinking if it's got no guarding and there's no tape around, it's a cobot.
Yeah, you're right, but I don't know why it's not moving. But anyway, on that note, what are we doing?
No, you're in charge now. Come on, tell me all about it.
An on-robot, and we're moving, basically, trays from one side to the other. So this will be used in the food and beverage, stacking boxes for deliveries, Amazon maybe. The possibilities are endless.
Endless, right. Let's go to the next one. I want to learn more about EDM. What is it? First of all, what is it?
EDM is electric. I can't remember.
Oh, come on. We practiced this for ages. Electrical discharge machining, my friend. Okay, talk me through some of these components first.
Okay, so some of these components are amazing. You would not be able to do that on a milling machine. Thank you. You wouldn't be able to do that on a milling machine, would you? The time and effort that it would take to do that would just be pointless. It's got fast positioning, it's got a multi-workpiece cutting, easy to step course stitch, and does it got wire threading?
It certainly does have wire threading, so if it breaks, you don't want the production to stop.
Definitely not. So, and it can machine parts up to 1050 by 775 by 300 millimetres.
Now, I need to know, have you memorised that?
Yeah, all off the top of my head.
Brilliant, that is absolutely
I couldn't remember
consummate
what EDM
professional.
meant, could I though?
We all know what that is, but so this is wire, two other types though of EDM. Go on, tell me what
Go
they
on,
are.
you tell me what they are.
Oh, put me under pressure. There is
you on the
obviously
spot.
fast hole drilling.
Yeah.
And sync.
Yes. Yes, right. Very well. So this is the FANUC RoboCut. So this is another product from FANUC. We've moved away from the robot. So this goes into sync and die and mold machines, because some of the applications that they do, you wouldn't be able to do on a milling machine. So having a machine like this would be great investment in technology.
Okay, now the next one, Chloe.
Yeah.
You tell me all about this, please.
So this, we've got a FANUC Robo Drill attached to an i10. So obviously, as you can see, we've got a robot that has got two grippers on it. So what it can do is it can feed the machine with a raw part and then take a finished part out and bring it. So no human interaction whatsoever. The only interaction it's going to have is the coding of the machine.
Okay, now the coding of the machine, does that come back to OnRobot, who have got their new software coming out which will make the coding a lot simpler? Or is
No,
that something?
because this is a FANUC robot. So this is all completely FANUC. So as you can see, we're feeding in, and we will feed out. And as you can see, we've got trays upon trays. So if you've got lights out running, if you've got weekends that need to be run, you can set this on a Friday, come in Monday morning, have your cup of coffee, and it's all done for you.
Nice and simple.
Okay.
Do you know what they do in terms of the size of billets on this? Can you make them higher?
Yeah, you can make them higher, you can have, and obviously it depends on the size of what you're making. So obviously if you're doing something 50mm by 50mm, you're going to have up to 300 to 400 components in there. If you're doing something of 150mm, you're going to have less in there, but you can make it bigger. So you can have bigger.
A lot more flexibility.
Yes.
I want to know all about, and we love this machine. Chloe, the Robo Drill. Tell me all about it. Look at you. Oh, she's lit up. Tell me about it.
So I really like the Robo Drill, and there's one thing that really stands out for me, and that is the tool changer. Probably one of the fastest tool changers by any manufacturer in the business. It just looks great. And I want to ask you about materials. What materials can it cut?
I'm thinking, because this is BBT30.
Yes.
I'm thinking it's safe with aluminium. It's going to hit the tough materials though.
You can cut any materials like you would do on a normal CNC machine. And this one is the AD21LIB5. Do you know what the L stands for? Long bed. Okay,
I was going to say, no, I don't.
So it's a long bed. So obviously there's 3 machines in this range. Big one, middle one, small one. This is the big one because it's a long bed. So that means it has a long bed. And also,
on the X-axis?
Yes, on the X-axis. And also what we've got in there is a Nikon rotary axis.
Now, I want to clarify, because engineering, even if
we
you're...
should ask the audience, what do they think it is?
Well,
And tell us.
That is a very good point. So get your questions in, probably leaving it a bit late because we're nearly coming to the end of the live stream in a minute. But we were chatting earlier, and we did ask some time-served engineers.
And they were wrong.
well, were they wrong? They didn't really know the answer. I think they fluffed,
yeah,
is that the right
maybe.
word? This is, oh no, what type of setup is this? Because the machine itself is a 3-axis?
It's a 3-axis, so you've got your X, Y, Z, but obviously we've got a Nikon rotary table on there, and it's working with your A-axis and your C-axis as well as another axis. So that can't be 6. So there's only 5 axes on there.
5 axes, yes. But how is that? Well, we want the audience. Is it a 3 plus 2, 4 plus 1, or a 4 5 axis? Let us know, please, because we know the answer. Now, what on earth is going on here, Chloe?
So we've got 2 robots on here. So one is picking up the foam bricks and dropping them.
In fact, can I stop you there, Chloe? Not wishing to cut in, Chloe, and not wishing to be rude. I think we've got a show of this, and Andy Harvey's going to talk us through it, or is it another one?
Yeah, I don't know as of yet, but I'll just quickly go through what's going on.
The joy of going live.
What is happening is the FANUC robot is picking up. So what would happen is in a real life situation, with this would be getting them off a conveyor belt or something, dropping them on, and then what the nice robot's doing is picking them up and putting them in a very unified manner, and then this can be taken onto the delivery truck in the full packaging area. So obviously, as you can see, it's a bit like a spider, isn't it? It's coming in and it's getting the parts and it's laying them down really nicely and uniformed. Okay.
That is absolutely fantastic, Chloe. I think after all that, we are going to have Andy Harvey do us a little showcase. But before that, I feel Luton taking on another football team.
Not Coventry City.
Oh, they're doing all right. We're all right. Other teams are available. I think just to prove my prowess skills and what's the word?
Movement,
something like that. I'm going to play a bit of footy against this FANUC robot, and it is going to get smashed. So, ready for some live football?
Yeah,
if you don't mind holding that, because I will be swearing.
All the balls are in there. Is it going to work? Because all the balls are in there, look. It's reset. I don't know what you've done, Colin. It doesn't work, does it? I'm sorry.
Guys, what can I say? Like any good live show, there's nothing that helps apart from having 3 balls on the pitch and none in the little thing here. So I can't play. So I would call that Colin 1, FANUC
No,
nil.
it says you've lost 2-1, look.
No, I'm not happy. I'm not having that. I'm not having that. This is joyful to watch. I know, mate, it's great TV. In fact, I might see if I can clobber a guy. No, there's nothing. I'm afraid, guys, there is nothing going on here.
There's nothing. They're all
so
in there.
we're going to have to go on to the show from Andy Harvey.
Where is he?
Well, I don't know. We've got 2 guys lurking in the background. Do you know where Andy is, please, gentlemen? No, they're just lurkers. We'll
have to cut.
Right, we're going this way.
I'm
being guided.
So this is the main hall that we've got in here. We've also got presentations going on next door. And we've also got over 40 exhibitors in another hall who are really close connections with FANUC, and they've got so much stuff on offer to go with. So we've got Hypermill there, we've got Shunk, we've got Hyper. So much to come and see, and you've got one more day, to see it all.
So get yourself registered, get yourself here. FANUC Open House, whereabouts is it?
Coventry, Anstey Park, just off the M6.
Now, Chloe, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you under pressure here.
Go on.
What so far, because I wasn't here yesterday, been here today, obviously, what has stood out so far?
I just think the technology that's on offer, and also
But you can't say technology on offer. One thing.
Not the food. Just seeing people here and seeing the latest innovative technology. There you go.
Hold on, you said not the food. I heard the food was absolutely fantastic.
It is.
We're not heading towards the food, by the way. It's the other direction. What did you have yesterday? I know people want to hear
I had
this.
steak and potatoes and some
potatoes.
root veg, which was very nice.
Root veg?
Well, I'll come and open this door. So this is the entrance to where all the exhibitors are. So
they will recognise this from yesterday's live stream.
Brace yourself.
Oh, ladies first. Don't worry about that. There you go. We've got the door. We've got the door for Liam. Now I'm trying to track down Andy Harvey. So Andy Harvey,
Where are we going?
Now, not knowing Andy Harvey, lucky I know my lefts from my rights. That looks like Andy Harvey. Andy Harvey? No? Is this gentleman Andy Harvey? Well, we are, as the joy of live streaming. What we'd like though is, first of all, first question is, where is Andy Harvey? That is the first question. Second question is, has anybody come up with what that was in terms of axis of the machine with a table on it? Was it 5 axis? Was it 3 plus 2?
I'm not too sure, because I thought it was something, and then we got told it was something different. Rowan told us it was something different.
Now, we don't like to big up our friend Rowan, who is one of our, I was going to say best presenters. That's not fair, is it?
That's me.
Exactly. But he came up with the right answer. So get your answers into the stream. You could put it below if you're watching on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
YouTube.
and I'd like to know if you're actually coming tomorrow or if you're watching it live at home, because obviously we are broadcasting it on our LinkedIn, our YouTube, and also FANUC's pages as well.
Take a breath, Kai. Take a breath.
I'm waiting for these questions to come in. And that walk, I can smell this dinner and it's just pulling me even closer to the door.
Well, I think we need to go and find Andy Harvey, because I'm reliably informed.
Oh, look who it is.
Right, we told him 10 minutes, but been super quick. Over to Andy. So, Chloe, I think you're going to have a little word with Andy.
Yes,
so I'm going to hand you the microphone. Andy, live show, give the guys a wave, and this is present for you.
Thank you very much, sir. Cheers.
So, Andy, what are we doing? What are you showcasing here today?
Well, we've got a 10,000 RPM robo drill with 4 axes prepped. So we've got trunnion on there cutting some steel.
Sorry, Andy. Okay, so what are you doing? Are you doing some special cycles on there? Because obviously we're doing it on the FANUC robo drill. So what's special about the robo drill?
Well, the robo drill, as we all know, it's a very highly dynamic and speedy machine tool. It'll get around the part quicker than you can think. And we just want to showcase how good it is at cutting steels, aluminiums, and all the other materials that we want to cut in the workshop.
So, materials, obviously, we wanted to show. It's not just an aluminium-based machine, is it? You can cut so much more on it.
Absolutely, we've cut all sorts of different materials on there: titaniums, cobalt chromes, Inconels.
Does it, having a smaller tool in there? Because what size is the tool that we have in the robo drill?
Well, we've got the back end's BBT 30,
Yep.
so it's a 30 taper back end, which is relatively small. But it's a facing taper contacts, BBT, so we get that extra stiffness and rigidity from the spindle.
Okay, so what does that mean for a customer?
It means you can run it a little bit harder. You can get, for the same interface, the BBT 30 is a smaller spindle, so it's got less inertia, so it'll accelerate quicker.
Yes.
But with the stiffness of the interface, you can take heavier cuts, heavier side-loaded applications, slightly longer tools maybe.
The FANUC robo drill has got a very unique tool changer and a tool carousel.
I'll tell you what, shall we get it going?
Let's get it going.
Let's get it going.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, we've got an 80mm face mill for a start, going over the top of the steel pipe just to rough the top face. And you'll notice we've got it on a 4th axis trunnion.
Yes.
So the trunnion, it just enables us to machine multiple faces in the same setup. So we've got angled faces in there, drilled and tapped holes on those angled faces.
So you're just showing the capability of this machine, aren't you? Because
Pretty
it's quite a small machine for what it can do.
Yeah, absolutely. It does pack a punch for a small machine. And you can stack them side by side, so you don't need to have access to the side of the machines for any maintenance.
Okay.
You can stack them, literally nest them side to side to take us maximum.
I didn't know that.
Smallest amount of space. As long as you can get to the front of the machine and the back, you can do all the work you need.
So the electrical cabinet's in the back, so you need to get access to that. The front door, so you've got nothing on the side. So what does that mean for people who are struggling with floor space?
Well, it means you can take advantage of what floor space you've got. You know, you can nest these machines next to each other. You can take advantage of every single square metre of floor space, which is, let's be fair, it's important to everyone.
Space is money. Space is money to people. Also, what I just wanted to ask you about was FANUC was the first coding that I learnt as an applications engineer. How does the FANUC coding run with the FANUC-based machine? Does it sync well? Does it run very well?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one key advantage of the robo drill. We have got FANUC drives, FANUC controls, a FANUC design machine, FANUC servo, so it all fits seamlessly together. The 4th axis on this machine is a FANUC designed 4th axis as well. So that's extremely fast and reliable.
Wow. So having all these things together means that it runs really smoothly.
100%. And FANUC have done, they're constantly just chipping away at fine details of the machine, making little improvements here, there and everywhere to just give the user so much better experience.
And that's what people want. People want the better experience. And I know about your service and your support.
Yeah.
So how does that comprehend with, if something went wrong, how quick would you be able to get to me?
Oh, these guys are responding as quick as possible, but certainly the response time is well under a day. You can expect to be on the phone to the service department and have that part either brought in from our stock here in the UK or our centralised service centre in Europe to get you up and running again within a matter of hours, if not.
Do you do turnkey solutions? So if somebody brings you a part, you're able to do it till the end? Because that is a big thing for people. If they have a new customer on board or something, and it's an industry that they've never been involved in, it's a big comfort for a customer as well.
Yeah, 100%. We certainly do turnkey solutions for different customers. But I'll just break away from one second. There's a key part of this process now that just shows you the dynamic nature of the robo drill. The speed at which the fourth axis rotates and gets from tool to tool is pretty fascinating. The robo drill is known for its speed and agility, and it's the ability of the control to power the machine around a part very, very fast. Hopefully you guys can see that now. It's just moving from face to face at lightning pace.
And this is what you want for quick cycle times as well, don't you?
100%. FANUC have got new compression cycles on this machine. This is a DIB Plus series machine.
What does that mean, Andy?
So a compression cycle is basically like if you went years ago and looked at a tool change block on a piece of NC code, you might have maybe 6, 7, 8 blocks of code to retract the spindle, to change the tool, to start the spindle again.
Or put the coolant on, everything
G43
like that.
line down to pick your offset up. FANUC on the DIB Plus series have got a code G100. It's a new CAN cycle, so we can do all that in one block of code.
Wow.
So the tool change will automatically retract the tool back up in Z, and we'll get pickup of the work offset, start the spindle, pre-position the part underneath the turret, ready to be drilling the next position, all in one line of code.
And that's all in one line of code,
Yep.
so I don't have to put all my movements in there.
No.
I can just put that
you
code
don't.
in it.
All the code from the beginning, you've just got one line of code to do all that work, which, the fewer lines of code in your program, the better, because that means speed.
Yeah, and sometimes it saves person looking over. It's a fail-safe, really, isn't it? Because it's
all
in that.
Yeah, fewer lines of code. You can just check that one line if you need to, and you're safe then to go. We've got other new codes on this machine as well. We've got a helical circular machining cycle.
Nice, yeah.
That again is not so much a conversational cycle. It's more of a FANUC CAN cycle. So you can helically interpolate down. You can go out on a radius and all in one line of code. So
What benefit is helical
machining?
Yeah, helical machining.
Yeah. Well, it means that you don't have to change tool.
Yes, so this is a big thing for people, isn't it?
Yeah, pocketing. So you can start off above the job with your end mill. You can create that pocket, rough it out using a helical path, and then just go out with like a tricoidal or volumetric strategy to open it up.
So this robo drill isn't the only one in the range, is it? Talk to me about what are the big ones you've got, because this is an L, so I presume that's a long bed.
Yeah, a long bed machine. So we do 3 different sizes of machine under 2 different models.
Okay.
So the 3 sizes are only different in their x-axis. So you've got a 300, a 500 and a 700 millimetre x-axis stroke. Y and Z remain the same. But then you've got the standard and the advanced models.
Okay.
They differ in such instances, like the major difference is the Z-axis stroke.
Yeah.
There's an extra 70 mil available on the advanced.
That's huge.
It is, considering the standard's only
Standard,
330.
yeah.
So and you think, well, 70 mil, why have they done that? And when you work with these machines every day, like I do, we put 5-axis tables on, and then you quickly realise that 70 millimetres of stroke is just enough to get the right, reasonable gauge length tool down to the centre line of that 5-axis table. So FANUC have really, really thought about what they're doing with this machine.
That's a great way to end it, Andy. I really
No problem at
appreciate
all.
your time.
Absolutely.
And if you enjoyed that, contact the guys at FANUC about the robo drills, because you'll speak to a guy like Andy with so much information. And we're going to go eat now, I think. Do you want some food?
I've already had some steak.
Oh,
It's
there we
beautiful.
go. So there you go.
Thank you very much.